Chapter 268. Taigon Master explained, this Yin shadow clone isn't just an afterimage that can fool the eyes. It also has a certain amount of offensive power and can disturb the enemy as well as assist in killing them. A scene instantly appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. When he attacked, several shadows would attack the enemy in the same way as him. Of course, this kind of concealment ability required Zhao Feng to have enough strength and cultivation. But no matter what, Zhao Feng's goal had been achieved. The Yin Shadow Cloak's concealment ability had increased greatly, especially when he wasn't moving. In the dark, this concealment ability could be doubled. Zhao Feng activated his concealment ability and stood in the dark. Even those at the true spirit realm wouldn't be able to sense him if they didn't purposely search for him. For the next few days, Zhao Feng started to visit the Taigon Mountain and the City Lord's Palace. Those from the City Lord's Palace would find that the frequency of Zhao Feng going to the Taigon Mountain was increasing. Sometimes, Zhao Feng would stay there for a few days and not come back. The outside world was saying that Taigon Master had taken Zhao Feng as his last disciple. No matter what the truth was, one thing was certain, Taigon Master placed great importance on Zhao Feng and their relationship wasn't simple. This was good news for the Flooding Lake Lu family. Because of the Flooding Lake City Lord, the relationship between the Flooding Lake Lu family and Taigon Master wasn't good. Taigon Master had a high status in the world of blacksmiths and was publicly acknowledged to be in the top 10 or even top 5. More importantly, this master had a mysterious relationship with the Iron Blood religion. The Flooding Lake Lu family had always wanted to rope in Taigon Master, but there hadn't been any progress. And now, the Flooding Lake City Lord's son-in-law had a good relationship with Taigon Master. This was a good sign. Because of this, the Flooding Lake City Lord had come to talk to Zhao Feng. Feng heir, if you can become Taigon Master's direct disciple, it will be of great help to the Flooding Lake Lu family. The Flooding Lake City Lord said in a meaningful tone. Zhao Feng replied vaguely. That Master Taigon was more than willing to take him in as a disciple, but Zhao Feng didn't want to be distracted by studying the Tao of forging. Even though he was in Flooding Lake City, Zhao Feng had never forgotten his mission as a messenger. As time passed, Zhao Feng's figure became more and more hurried. He often stayed at Taigon Mountain to receive guidance from Master Taigon. During this period of time, Zhao Feng assisted Taigon in forging quite a few weapons, one of which had even reached the spirit rank. Everything went smoothly during the forging process. Zhao Feng's attainments in forging advanced by leaps and bounds, and his eyes became sharper. Master Taigon was extremely satisfied with this. Zhao Feng's improvement had exceeded his expectations. All of this was just a warm-up for the divine weapon mission that was entrusted to him. Meanwhile, the day of Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin's wedding was approaching. There were only 2 months left. Lu Qinxin, his fiancée in name, had always been neglected. After all, Zhao Feng was using the name of befriending Taigon to gain the support of the city lord. At the start, Lu Qinxin was able to keep her calm. But as the day of the wedding approached, she finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Marriage was a life-changing event for any young girl. However, Zhao Feng had never gone to find Lu Qinxin. What does this Zhao Feng think I am? Lu Qinxin was slightly anxious. Every time she looked at Zhao Feng, there would be a trace of dissatisfaction in her eyes. Ever since the engagement, Zhao Feng's image in Lu Qinxin's heart had started to change. At the start, Zhao Feng was just a young beast tamer from another region with one eye and azure hair. He was a far cry from the ideal husband in her heart. But soon, this youth seemed to be shrouded in mist. As he probed and dug, he displayed shocking strength and foundation. A mysterious eye bloodline, superb archery skills, extraordinary beast taming skills, talent that made blacksmiths sigh in admiration, and various abilities that surpassed normal people. Every time this young man showed off, he was calm, and confident. All sorts of halos covered his body. Who in the Flooding Lake region could compare to him at the same age? Lu Qinxin couldn't deny that this youth with limitless potential was slowly getting closer to her ideal husband. Most importantly, he was her child of destiny. At this moment, Lu Qinxin could barely accept this fiancé. But the problem was that Zhao Feng was always so busy that she couldn't even be seen. This entire time, he had basically ignored her. Finally, on this day, Zhao Feng came to find Lu Qinxin. Lu Qinxin let out a breath. No matter how slow this youth was, he would at least understand the problem. Furthermore, she didn't believe that he could resist her charms. Qinxin, I'm about to help Master forge a spiritual-grade weapon. I might have to stay in Taigan Mountain for a month. Because the city lord isn't here, please help me pass on the message. Zhao Feng told her the reason for his visit. After saying this, Zhao Feng prepared to leave. A month? Lu Qinxin was dazed and felt as if she had fallen from the clouds into the abyss. Her heart went cold. The dullness and coldness of this youth had exceeded her imagination. If it was any other woman, they would have broken down a long time ago. Wait, a cold voice stopped Zhao Feng's footsteps. Zhao Feng was dazed as he looked at Lu Qinxin in confusion. At this moment, Lu Qinxin's eyes were filled with coldness. Zhao Feng finally realized what was wrong. Shit! I've actually neglected this important factor. Zhao Feng's thoughts spun and he had a bad feeling. Ever since the engagement, he had been busy planning his escape, or at Taigan Mountain. As a result, he had neglected his fiancée, Lu Qinxin. What Zhao Feng was worried about was whether Lu Qinxin would notice something. If this small detail caused his escape plan to fail, then it wouldn't be worth it. I know you've been busy these past few days, but regarding our marriage, Lu Qinxin found it hard to speak as she felt an indescribable sense of shame. Her face couldn't help but turn red. This was a side of her that Zhao Feng couldn't see. Zhao Feng had already realized that his negligence might have left a flaw and he wanted to fix it. How should he fix it? Thoughts flew through Zhao Feng's mind. The most important thing now was to calm Lu Qinxin down. How should I calm her down? That's right, care for her. That's right, care for her. Zhao Feng's thoughts were quick and in less than a tenth of a second. In terms of relationships, Zhao Feng had always been slow and had never even thought about it in this direction. On one hand, it was because he was still young and focused on cultivation without any distractions. Apart from that, there was another important reason. The merging of the god's spiritual eye had made Zhao Feng's state of mind extremely calm. One could imagine that as long as Zhao Feng used his god's spiritual eye, he would be able to see through their bodies. No matter if they were beautiful or ugly, they would all be like bones and true force. What kind of situation would that be? Next, Zhao Feng was thinking about how to care for Lu Qinxin. Qinxin, due to my negligence, I've almost forgotten about our marriage. I'm really sorry. Zhao Feng's cold eyes suddenly became warm and a smile even appeared on his face. Lu Qinxin was stunned. When did this guy change? But she had to admit that after getting used to Zhao Feng's cold and indifferent appearance, this warm and gentle appearance was truly quite a rare sight. In my heart, to be able to see Qinxin's beauty makes this trip worth it. I've never thought of marrying you. But who would have thought that the heavens would bless me and make everything like a dream? Zhao Feng continued to weave words of care and his actions were filled with deep emotions. Looking at the youth who was speaking incoherently, Lu Qinxin couldn't help but be shocked. She didn't think that this wooden youth would confess his true feelings to her. While Zhao Feng was weaving words of concern, he was also paying attention to Lu Qinxin's expression. But Lu Qinxin's reaction wasn't big. Am I not caring enough? Zhao Feng decided to take it one step further. He took a deep breath and walked in front of Lu Qinxin. Looking at this beautiful girl, he suddenly reached out and hugged her waist. Lu Qinxin was caught off guard. She didn't think that Zhao Feng would be so daring as to hug her waist. She exclaimed as her bloodline power subconsciously moved. But who would have thought that the movement of her bloodline would cause Zhao Feng's bloodline to become alert? Maybe it was because Lu Qinxin's bloodline power was dangerous enough. In the dimension of his left eye, a mysterious faint blue light appeared in the middle of the azure abyss. Instantly, Lu Qinxin felt her bloodline power tremble as if it had frozen. Zhao Feng's strong hands gently hugged her and her body softened as she fell into his embrace. Because her bloodline power was being suppressed, she couldn't move and her breathing became difficult. Her heart rate sped up and her face turned red. It feels good to hug this girl's body, Zhao Feng thought in his heart, but most of his attention was on Lu Qinxin's expression. He didn't know if it was embarrassment or tenderness, but there was a sense of helplessness. In reality, Lu Qinxin's bloodline power was being suppressed and she found it hard to breathe. Looks like I didn't care enough. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. Therefore, he lowered his head and used his mouth to lightly kiss Lu Qinxin's forehead. You dare, Lu Qinxin was dazed. Embarrassment, humiliation, and all sorts of other emotions appeared in her heart. Seeing that Lu Qinxin's expression wasn't right, Zhao Feng immediately let go of this beauty. At the same time, Lu Qinxin's true force surged out and the aura of a half-step true spirit realm filled the air. Not good. Zhao Feng finally realized that his concern was a bit too much. You shameless, Lu Qinxin's voice was filled with anger and embarrassment, but she swallowed her words halfway. She wanted to say that Zhao Feng was shameless, but the other party was her fiancé. Lu Qinxin pointed at Zhao Feng and didn't know what to do. Qinxin, I don't have any ill intentions. I just want to care about you. Zhao Feng was speechless. I'm fine. Lu Qinxin looked at him deeply. Her eyes regained their calmness and serenity. This youth was, after all, her fiancé and was closer to her ideal husband. As her fiancé, what he did just then wasn't out of line. And, it's good that you're fine. I'll go to the Taigan Mountain immediately. Please tell the city lord. Zhao Feng let out a breath and regained his usual calmness, then he said goodbye and left. He left. Lu Qinxin paused. This fellow had just confessed his love to her, hugged and kissed her. But now, he had slipped away like a wisp of smoke, as if nothing had happened. What kind of person does he think I am? Looking at the azure-haired youth disappear into the night, Lu Qinxin couldn't calm herself down. Chapter 269. Taigan Mountain. Zhao Feng had rushed over from the flooding lake city and arrived as promised. According to his promise with Taigan Master, he would start crafting the spiritual grade weapon from tonight onwards. Entering the Taigan Mountain this time, Zhao Feng felt an unusual aura and his heart jumped. The entire Taigan Palace was filled with a solemn atmosphere. On the mountain, the palace was completely silent. There wasn't even the slightest noise. At the entrance of the Taigan Palace was a carriage forged from gold and covered in a blood dragon. On top of it was a cross of swords and blades, giving off a domineering aura. At the four corners of the palanquin stood four bearers, their bodies perfectly straight and motionless. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned across the four bearers and his expression changed dramatically. The four bearers all had vast auras like four lakes. True Spirit Realm. They were all at the True Spirit Realm. Zhao Feng couldn't help but take in a cold breath. What kind of person had descended to make three true human rank experts become bearers? In terms of strength, the four bearers were all stronger than Hai Yun Master. At the same time, half a mile behind him, four dark-robed figures merged into the night and watched over Zhao Feng. There's something wrong with the Taigan Mountain tonight. One of the dark-robed figures murmured. The person at the front was hidden high up and sent a message, there's a carriage outside the Taigan Palace. It's forged from gold and has a blood dragon, swords and blades. As soon as he said this, the four figures in dark robes sucked in a cold breath. Golden spear blood dragon carriage. The four of them stared at the palanquin and fell into an inexplicable state of shock and fear. At this moment, their backs were drenched in sweat and they didn't dare to move. What do we do? One of the dark-robed figures asked. Don't move. The leading dark-robed figure said bitterly. If the owner of the carriage has killing intent, even the city lord and the Lu family head won't be able to save us. The four dark-robed figures were like wooden pillars that stopped on the spot without moving. If one looked closely, they would realize that none of the birds or beasts on the Taigan mountain dared to make a sound. All was silent. Zhao Feng felt that the atmosphere was inexplicably solemn. Even breathing was more difficult than usual. He faintly realized that all of this was related to the ferocious and domineering blood dragon Gold Iron carriage. According to the agreement with Master Iron, the mysterious client will also arrive today. Zhao Feng entered Taigan Manor without batting an eyelid. The four bearers in front of the palanquin stood motionless like wooden pillars, not even glancing at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng felt an indescribable chill. Taigan's manor was completely empty. There wasn't even a single apprentice blacksmith present, including Master Tai's direct disciples. You came. Master Taigan landed in front of him with a trail of flames. Zhao Feng jumped in fright. He was just about to speak when Taigan pulled him into the underground hall. A golden-robed man with blood-red hair sat in the secret refinery hall. He looked to be in his 30s and had an ordinary appearance, but his eyes were deep. Lord Tima, my assistant is here. Master Taigan said respectfully. Zhao Feng stood behind him silently. He couldn't see through the golden-robed man in front of him at all. He seemed like an ordinary person, but with one glance, it was hard to forget him. Furthermore, a strange instinct made Zhao Feng not dare to use his god's spiritual eye to observe him. According to the original plan, we need 2 blacksmiths to have a chance of success. The blood-haired man's voice was extremely calm. Master Taigan explained, the most important thing about forging this weapon is that there can't be any mistakes. It requires extreme control and precision. In this aspect, his usefulness was even more important than that of a master blacksmith. Furthermore, Lord Tima needs to forge this weapon as soon as possible. Master Pei is still in the Imperial's forging for the Emperor and won't be able to leave for now. As the two spoke, Zhao Feng remained silent. If he remembered correctly, Master Pei was the #1 blacksmith in the Canopy Great Country. Oh well, you and Master Pei are both the last disciples of the Grandmaster Blacksmith. In terms of forging, you're on par with him. The blood-haired man nodded his head. He didn't doubt Zhao Feng's ability and believed Master Taigan's words without a doubt. What's your name? The blood-haired man asked. This junior is Zhao Feng, greets Senior Tima. Zhao Feng realized that the person in front of him was not simple. His tone was respectful, but it didn't seem like he was trying to flatter him. The blood-haired man faintly nodded his head and didn't say anything else. Master Taigan didn't waste a second and started forging with Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng didn't ask any questions. What he needed to do was to help Master Taigan complete this task. You need to forge these parts according to the blueprints. Master Taigan took out a few blueprints and gave some details to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng took off his eye patch and scanned it with his left eye, imprinting the contents of the blueprints into his mind. He was certain that these blueprints weren't the complete blueprints in the Heaven's Legacy inheritance, but parts of it. Zhao Feng was slightly shocked as he analyzed the contents of the blueprints. The precision required, as well as the smelting and compatibility of the materials, had to be at a perverse level. There wasn't a single flaw allowed. Not only that, but the number of parts needed to be forged was in the thousands. Every single part was the size of a sesame seed, while the largest was the size of a palm. There couldn't be a single flaw for over 1,000 parts. And this was only the initial processing of the materials, not the finished product. Even if a master could make a few pieces of work flawlessly, it was too demanding to ensure that there were no mistakes in terms of size, weight, smelting degree, and heat control when there were thousands of pieces of work. More importantly, there were some extremely minute omissions that even a grandmaster would have a hard time noticing. However, the most difficult part wasn't a problem for Zhao Feng. No problem. Master Taigan asked. No problem, I just need some time and energy. Furthermore, some materials will be wasted in the process. Zhao Feng replied. Wasted materials? The blood-haired man's lips curled into a smile, but he didn't speak. To forge this weapon, the amount of materials wasted could fill up the entire Taigon residence. Remember, the slightest mistake could result in failure in the forging of the weapon. Master Taigon reminded. Even if there are any mistakes, I will check them out. Zhao Feng nodded his head and started to smelt the materials. From the start to the end, his expression was calm without a single ripple of emotion. His every breath and every bit of energy was controlled to the extreme. The blood-haired man sized up Zhao Feng, staring at his azure eyes with interest, but he didn't interrupt. Time slowly passed. Zhao Feng and Master Taigon had their own tasks. The difference was that Zhao Feng was doing some elementary and complicated tasks. Master Taigon had to deal with some high-level runes, as well as smelt some high-level materials. Zhao Feng was shocked as he processed the materials. The materials he processed were relatively low-level, any one of them could buy a pile of normal weapons. There were some high-level materials that Zhao Feng didn't even know the names of. Master Taigon would tell him their attributes and process them according to the blueprint. The initial stages of forging were incomparably long. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye controlled the processing and smelting of each material. Towards the end, his eyes didn't blink, his face was expressionless as his hands became faster and faster, like an assembly line. Some materials had to be handled with extreme care, a little bit more strength, a little bit more temperature. In this process, Zhao Feng had indeed wasted some materials. However, he wouldn't waste them repeatedly, and would soon reach a certain level of precision. The blood-haired man's calm expression slowly turned solemn. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Zhao Feng was exhausted. He slept and woke up, then went back to sleep. Finally, on this day, the initial processing of the materials was completed. The first step is finally complete. Now, we need to check for any mistakes. It's best if these materials don't have a single flaw. Master Taigon said. The two's method was very simple, cross-check. First, Zhao Feng checked Master Taigon's processing of the materials. Every part was exquisitely crafted, like a work of art. According to Master Taigon's request, Zhao Feng found a total of 123 flaws, including some extremely minute flaws. Of course, the flaws here were relative and had to be controlled to a certain extent. 123, so many. Master Taigon was slightly shocked, but upon closer inspection, some of the minute flaws were barely within an acceptable range, yet Zhao Feng had actually found them. Soon after, it was Master Taigon's turn to check Zhao Feng's flaws. A total of 6. Master Taigon was slightly shocked. Furthermore, many of these flaws were due to Zhao Feng's lack of experience or understanding. The blood-haired man not far away was slightly moved. Let me go through it myself. Zhao Feng checked his own, occasionally consulting Master Taigon. Soon, Zhao Feng had also found 20 to 30 flaws in his processing. Some of the flaws were so well hidden that even Master Taigon couldn't see them. There were also some flaws that were too minute or barely acceptable. But without exception, Zhao Feng picked them out one by one. Furthermore, after the inspection, Zhao Feng checked all the parts a few more times. There's no problem. Zhao Feng nodded his head. Master Taigon was pleasantly surprised that the first step had been completed. The time used was more than half of what he had imagined. The following steps required high attainments in Tool's method, and Zhao Feng was only responsible for assisting. Furthermore, Master Taigon had to keep all the core secrets from Zhao Feng. What Zhao Feng needed to do was to pick out the mistakes. She kept correcting him and nitpicking at him. Step by step, he proceeded in an orderly manner. Until the 8th day of the first month, Master Taigon finally stopped. All the steps have been completed, there's only one last step left, smelting. Master Taigon took a deep breath. He then requested Zhao Feng to check all the flaws. Zhao Feng checked again and again to make sure there were no mistakes before nodding his head. The blood-haired man also participated in the last step. The success or failure of the last step depended on the foundation of the previous steps. Therefore, Zhao Feng didn't need to participate in this step, and he even took the initiative to avoid it. After all, the blueprint of this item came from the Heaven's Legacy inheritance, and the materials used and difficulty were all shocking. The final product would definitely shock the world. If you succeed this time, you'll be the hero of the Iron Blood religion. The blood-haired man nodded towards Zhao Feng. Chapter 270. Taigon Mountain. The blood dragon palanquin was forged from metal and had a forked sword and blade symbol on it. In the blink of an eye, over a month had passed. No matter how the wind blew, the rain fell, the lightning flashed and the golden spear blood dragon palanquin didn't move. In this period of time, a few true spirit realm experts had come to the flooding lake city, but when they saw the golden spear blood dragon palanquin, they all went around it. Even the flooding lake city lord had come personally. When he saw the golden spear blood dragon palanquin, his expression was solemn and he went back the way he came. Taigon Master was famous around the flooding lake city and many people knew that he had a mysterious relationship with the Iron Blood religion. This wasn't a secret. The Iron Blood religion was extremely powerful in the Canopy Great Country. They used blood and slaughter to crush anyone who didn't submit. Facing such a powerful force, even the main branch of the Liu family was wary, let alone the flooding lake Liu family. Today, it was an open secret that the Iron Blood religion and the royal family were fighting. The other 6 great forces of the great nation were either secretly involved or watching from the sidelines. The situation in Fiery Capital was complicated. Underground Forging Hall. Zhao Feng sat cross-legged in a side hall and cultivated. He wasn't of much use in the last step, so it was up to the blood-hair-colored man and Taigon Master to perform. In reality, the last step didn't require much effort and instead had a high requirement for cultivation. In the next period of time, Zhao Feng could feel the terrifying pressure from the blacksmith's secret hall. Just a wisp or two of that terrifying aura was enough to make his heart shake. If it was just Taigon Master, Zhao Feng was certain that he wouldn't have such a powerful aura. Even the flooding lake city lord, whose true spirit aura shook the heavens, couldn't compare to this one. Looks like Lord Tiamat is at least at the true lord rank and should be an upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion. Zhao Feng calculated. Experts at the true lord rank stood at the top of a great country and could summon clouds and rain with a flip of their hand. Time passed by slowly. While Zhao Feng was cultivating, he would occasionally feel a terrifying pressure. 5 or 6 days later, the sound of metal clanging came from the secret crafting hall. A stream of sharp aura of a divine weapon was suddenly born, and it was rising bit by bit. This is the aura of a spirit tier weapon. Zhao Feng could feel his Luoho Bao trembling inexplicably, and his Yin shadow cloak fluttered in the wind. He felt a bit uneasy. Meow, meow. The little thieving cat appeared and looked at the sealed forging hall. The artifact forging secret hall was made of a special material that could block the spiritual sense of those at the true spirit realm. Even Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye couldn't easily see through it. The aura of the spiritual weapon was extremely unique. It was sharp, cold, and had a bloodthirsty and tyrannical aura. The killing intent was extremely dense. As time passed, the auras in the secret hall grew stronger. Zhao Feng could even feel the terrifying heat. The temperature at the center could probably instantly turn normal true human rank cultivators into ashes. At a certain moment, the aura of the spiritual grade divine weapon had risen to a peak, and even the secret hall couldn't seal it. Ding! 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 Zhao Feng suddenly felt uneasy when he heard a strange and urgent sound. Shwa! With a wave of the Yin shadow cloak, Zhao Feng disappeared. In the next instant, the secret hall shook. Crack! A dark silver wheel of light slashed a crack a few feet wide on the palace wall that was as hard as a spirit-grade divine weapon. Sparks flew everywhere. Furthermore, the shattered light and sparks flew everywhere. Any one of them could instantly kill someone at the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm. Shwa! Zhao Feng appeared at the entrance of the secret hall. At this moment in time, the entire underground secret hall started to shake. Amidst the dust, Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye caught a faint silver wheel that was half a yard wide. The center of the silver wheel was dark and the edges flashed like a silver blade that spun endlessly. When the silver wheel suddenly shrank and disappeared from sight. The next instant, the dust and light disappeared. The blood-hair-colored male and Master Tai walked out side by side. Master Tai's face was pale white and tired, but he was extremely excited. The blood-hair-colored male's face was full of joy. His entire right arm was covered in a dark silver metal, like a mechanical arm. The surface of the black metal arm was smooth, like a piece of art. There wasn't a single flaw to be found and there wasn't even a crack at the joints. Apart from the fact that it was made of metal, there was no difference between this arm and a human arm. The power of this wheel of light and darkness is even more perfect than I imagined. It can easily cut through low-grade spiritual weapons. In the entire northern continent, apart from legendary weapons, there aren't many weapons that can fight against it. The blood-hair-colored male had a satisfied smile on his face. Zhao Feng had participated in the creation of the Wheel of Light and Darkness before, so every part of it was imprinted in his mind. Looking at the finished product, his god's spiritual eye could almost analyze half of it. This Wheel of Light and Darkness should have 3 forms. The first is the arm form, which is suitable for close combat. The second was the attack form, which was the dark silver wheel that rotated at high speed. Its size could be enlarged, and its sharpness was unstoppable. The third form might be a shield. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye deduced a conclusion from the analysis of the parts. He had to admit that this was a perfect product that had even surpassed the boundaries of equipment path. Master Taigon and the blood-hair-colored male probably couldn't imagine that Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye had such heaven-defying duplication and analysis abilities. Although Zhao Feng hadn't seen the complete blueprint and hadn't participated in the core process, he had participated in the review of every part. Zhao Feng was even more familiar with the material than Master Taigon. As expected of a blueprint from the Heaven's Legacy inheritance. Even if we can create it, we might not be able to analyze its true principles and profundities. Furthermore, without Zhao Feng's help, we would have to pay 10 times the price to create the Wheel of Light and Darkness. Master Taigon sighed. Zhao Feng's contribution couldn't go unnoticed in creating the Wheel of Light and Darkness. However, Zhao Feng was thinking, this Wheel of Light and Darkness is very suitable for people who have lost their arms. This made him think of his master, First Elder. If he had the right conditions, Zhao Feng could even create a simplified version of the Wheel of Light and Darkness. However, it was still very difficult right now unless he was at the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng, you've done a lot this time. What requests do you have? If you're willing to join the Iron Blood religion, I can give you the position of chapter leader. The blood-hair-colored male said with a smile. Hearing this, Master Taigon's expression changed slightly. The position of a chapter leader of the Iron Blood religion was equivalent to a middle-tier family in a great country. Of course, the blood-hair-colored male might have been in a moment of excitement, but at this moment, he was extremely grateful towards Zhao Feng and had the intention to repay him. Reporting to Lord Tiamat, this junior came from a faraway place and came to the Canopy Great Country to find someone. At this moment, I have no intentions of joining any faction. Zhao Feng tactfully rejected. Although the Iron Blood religion was strong, Zhao Feng didn't know anything about it. If he wasn't careful, he might fall into the whirlpool of power within the Canopy Great Country. Comparatively, Zhao Feng would rather Tiamat owe him a favor. It wouldn't be too late to ask for it when he really needed it. No matter what, you've helped me greatly this time. If you have any requests in the future, you can ask the Iron Blood religion. A blood-colored token inlaid with gold appeared in the blood-colored male's hand and he handed it to Zhao Feng. This is the Iron Blood Gold Lord token. With this token, you can move freely within the Iron Blood religion's territory and you can also make a request of me. The blood-colored hair-colored male explained. Zhao Feng immediately thanked him and put away the Iron Blood Gold Lord token. After the weapon was completed, the blood-colored hair-colored male didn't leave immediately. Master Taigon suggested, although the Wheel of Light and Darkness has been successfully forged, it's best to let Zhao Feng inspect it once more. After all, this weapon was too intricate and the blueprint came from the most mysterious and ancient heaven's legacy inheritance. There's actually no need to inspect it. Every part of this weapon is related to each other. It's like the joints of the human body. Zhao Feng faintly smiled but didn't refuse. He still took the Wheel of Light and Darkness and opened his God's spiritual eye to inspect it. Through the God's spiritual eye, he could analyze the structure of the Wheel of Light and Darkness even more clearly. This Wheel of Light and Darkness was unbelievably heavy, weighing at least 1,000 pounds. But for someone of the blood-colored male's level, it wasn't much. No problem, but just to be safe, it's best to let it cool down for a few days at the beginning. However, it can't be left out for too long. It's best if it can't unleash its full power within half a month. Zhao Feng returned the Wheel of Light and Darkness to the blood-colored male after inspecting it. Hearing Zhao Feng's suggestion, Master Taigon and the blood-colored male looked at each other in surprise. This was because Zhao Feng's opinion was the same as the blueprint. Zhao Feng hadn't seen the blueprint before, but he had such an opinion. The blood-colored male looked solemnly at Zhao Feng. Your eye bloodline is indeed unique. If you're willing, the Iron Blood religion will open its doors to you at any time. I sincerely invite you. Zhao Feng felt Tiamat's sincerity and didn't immediately reject him. He decided to wait until his master's letter arrived before making a decision. After all, First Elder's letter had arrangements for Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, don't you want to find someone? Why don't you let Lord Tiamat help you? Master Taigon smiled. He could already see that Tiamat placed great importance on Zhao Feng and was sincerely inviting him. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up as he took out the half-jade comb and gave it to Tiamat. Tiamat took the jade comb and lightly touched it as a light flashed in his eyes. Are you sure the person you're looking for is called Lu Qinxin? Tiamat asked. Yes, I just don't know which Lu Qinxin it is. Zhao Feng was nervous. Tiamat should be one of the upper echelons of the Iron Blood religion and knew a lot. Lu Qinxin. Tiamat's voice was heavy and his eyebrows were furrowed as his eyes twinkled. Zhao Feng had a feeling that Tiamat might have a clue or even an exact target. However, he wasn't in a rush to ask. If Tiamat was willing, he would definitely say it. A while later, Tiamat gave the half-jade comb to Zhao Feng and said expressionlessly, the person you're looking for should be Empress Qin. Empress Qin. Zhao Feng's heart shook slightly. He didn't think that the person who received the letter had such a special identity. Out of all the people called Lu Qinxin, Empress Qin had the most background. Empress Qin. Master Taigon took a cold breath and said, this Empress Qin's status and influence in the Imperials can probably be ranked in the top 3. Apparently, even the Emperor of Canopy Great Country is under her control. How could the person Zhao Feng is looking for be her? Chapter 271. When the truth was revealed, both Zhao Feng and Taigon Master were shocked. The Lu Qinxin that Zhao Feng was looking for had a huge background. She was Empress Qin of the Imperials. In the Canopy Great Country, the Imperials was the highest authority and controlled the entire country. In name, even the 3 sects and 4 families had to listen to them. Thinking up to here, Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed and his expression changed as he suddenly thought of something. If he remembered correctly, the Imperials and Iron Blood religion were like fire and water, fighting both openly and secretly. The Imperials was the ruler in name and controlled the entire country. On the other hand, the Iron Blood religion was the country's religion and used iron and blood methods to suppress everything. This Empress Qin is extremely powerful and charms everyone. She even tried to control the government and is a huge enemy of the Iron Blood religion. Tiamat said coldly. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart became uneasy. The Iron Blood religion and the Imperials and even Empress Qin were enemies. If I bring the token and join Empress Qin, wouldn't that mean? Zhao Feng couldn't help but worry. Master Taigon was also aware of this and cast a questioning glance at Tiamat. The blood-haired man's eyes twinkled as he said, "No matter what, you've helped the Iron Blood religion and me greatly. I clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. I won't make things difficult for you on this point." After receiving the answer, Zhao Feng let out a breath. He was originally worried that the Iron Blood religion would force him to make a choice. However, even if Tiamat didn't make things difficult for Zhao Feng, he would still feel a headache. The Iron Blood religion and the Imperials were enemies. If he was on good terms with the Iron Blood religion, he would become the enemy of the Imperials and even the owner of the letter, Empress Qin. However, if he was settled by the Imperials after delivering the letter, he would become the enemy of the Iron Blood religion. No matter which side he offended, Zhao Feng would become the enemy of the other side. This was unavoidable. After completing the task, Zhao Feng didn't stay and immediately said his goodbyes. Right now, the most important thing to him was how to deal with this imminent marriage. As he watched Zhao Feng leave, Master Taigon probed, "Vice Sect Master, aren't you worried that Zhao Feng will be placed in an important position by the royal family? His Ai bloodline is very useful. You have to look further. Even if you force him to make a choice now, you won't be able to gain his loyalty. Furthermore, Empress Qin was born in the great country, so how close would she be with people from other regions?" The crimson-haired man's eyes were deep and serene. "So you're saying that Zhao Feng and Empress Qin don't have a deep relationship?" Master Taigon came to a sudden realization. He. The crimson-haired man's lips curled into a sinister smile. "It won't be long before the answer is revealed. Everything depends on whether or not my guess is correct." After returning to the city, Zhao Feng was immediately summoned by the Flooding Lake City Lord. It turned out that Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin's wedding would be held in half a month. From now on, don't bother yourself with anything else. Focus on preparing for the wedding," the Flooding Lake City Lord said. In this period of time, news of Zhao Feng, the City Lord's daughter's marriage, had spread across the entire Flooding Lake City. The City Lord's palace was already preparing for the wedding and the entire Flooding Lake City was filled with a joyous atmosphere. Zhao Feng felt even more pressured. The closer it was to the wedding, the smaller his chances of escaping would be. All of this was the Flooding Lake City Lord's plan that left Zhao Feng with no path of retreat. Any other man would be willing to face a woman like Lu Qinxin even if they knew they were being schemed against. Lu Qinxin had a beauty that could captivate a city and a calm temperament, like a goddess from a painting. In terms of talent and background, she was perfect. However, Zhao Feng didn't have any plans to get married. He was still young, only a little over 16 years old, and he was focused on pursuing the peak of the Tao. He didn't understand the matters between men and women yet. All of this was the Flooding Lake City Lord's plan. Adding on the so-called fate, it was the little thieving cat that took off Lu Qinxin's veil. However, in front of the Flooding Lake City Lord, Zhao Feng's expression didn't change and he agreed to everything. Also, if you become the son-in-law of the Lu family, it's best if you don't get too close to the Iron Blood religion, the Flooding Lake City Lord warned. Zhao Feng soon realized that Empress Qin came from the Lu family. From a certain point of view, her joining the Imperials represented the relationship between the Lu family and the Imperials. If the Lu family was close to the Imperials, then the Iron Blood religion would have to stay away. After saying goodbye to the Flooding Lake City Lord, Zhao Feng returned to his residence and scanned around with his god's spiritual eye. With this scan, his expression became solemn. There was an expert at the True Spirit realm near his residence that was monitoring Zhao Feng. So, because of the marriage and the Iron Blood religion, the Flooding Lake City Lord had sent an expert at the True Spirit realm to protect Zhao Feng. With an expert at the True Spirit realm monitoring Zhao Feng, the difficulty of his escape would increase dramatically. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and sat down cross-legged as he circulated his cultivation. Since there was an expert at the True Spirit realm monitoring him, then there was no need for him to hide his strength. On the same night, he broke through to the seventh sky. This time, Zhao Feng didn't need to consolidate his cultivation and had returned to his original realm. My cultivation and foundation are both stronger than before. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He was also at the seventh sky, but he was much stronger than when he was at the peak of the Alliance Banquet. After the Alliance Banquet, Zhao Feng had comprehended the Origin Core realm and his mental energy level had exceeded the half-step True Spirit realm. Not to mention that his first level of the Lightning Legacy had reached the Great Perfection level. His mental power and other aspects were much stronger than before. The news of Zhao Feng's breakthrough soon reached the Flooding Lake City Lord. Young Master just broke through and said he needed to consolidate his cultivation, so he pushed away a lot of the wedding preparations. A steward said, "Breaking through is a good thing. If that's the case, try to get rid of all the troublesome things for him." The Flooding Lake City Lord didn't suspect anything and even had a gratified expression. Firstly, breaking through needed to be consolidated, and secondly, Zhao Feng's breakthrough was more compatible with Lu Qinxin's. One more thing. Tell him to take off the eye patch before the wedding. A genius with an eye bloodline is enough to match Qinxin's bloodline. The Flooding Lake City Lord ordered. The City Lord's orders soon reached Zhao Feng. Very good. This time, I'll need the god's spiritual eye's power to escape. Zhao Feng slowly took off the eye patch. After returning from the Taigon Palace, he had changed into a new eye patch. It was faint silver and as thin as a blade. This new eye patch was given to him by Taigon Master, and when he wore it, it blocked the aura of his eye bloodline to the maximum. Next, using the name of consolidating his cultivation, Zhao Feng started to secretly plan his escape. He didn't go out much, but he was always planning. He even sent the little thieving cat to take care of some inconvenient things. The little thieving cat was small in size and had extraordinary concealment skills. It was easy to do many things. The City Lord's palace, the Flooding Lake City, and the nearby terrain. Zhao Feng thought. With his current cultivation, he wasn't afraid of 2 or 3 half-step True Spirit Realm experts chasing after him. The hardest to deal with was the newly sent expert at the True Spirit Realm. This person was called Lu Yuan, and apparently, he was the cousin of the Flooding Lake City Lord. He had gone to the Qin Sword Palace to cultivate and stayed nearby in the name of protecting the City Lord's son-in-law. The day of the wedding was coming closer and there were only 5 or 6 days left. On this day, Zhao Feng had finally exited seclusion. The first thing Zhao Feng did after exiting seclusion wasn't find Lu Qinxin or the City Lord's palace. His target was the expert at the True Spirit Realm who was watching over him. Uncle Yuan, I've just stabilized my cultivation and have many questions about cultivation. I want to ask you for some pointers. Zhao Feng went to find the expert at the True Spirit Realm. Lu Yuan nodded his head. Being an elder, he didn't reject it. Many juniors came to him for pointers. Furthermore, the youth in front of him was the son-in-law of the City Lord and the future young master of the Flooding Lake City. At the same time, Lu Yuan thought in his heart, I'll use this chance to understand this brat's cultivation. Zhao Feng had an eye bloodline and was mysterious. Even the Flooding Lake City Lord was curious about him. Zhao Feng first went to find Lu Yuan and asked him about cultivation. After that, he asked for a spar. Zhao Feng's goal was obviously to find out more about this expert at the True Spirit Realm. Lu Yuan could be considered half a disciple of the Qin Sword Palace. The Qin Sword Palace was one of the 3 great sects of the Great Country and had a relationship with the Lu family. In terms of battle style, the Qin Sword Palace mostly used the Qin, sword, brush, flute, etc., giving them an indescribable elegance and nobility. Lu Yuan's weapon was a black brush, and when he waved it, the qi of True Spirit would scatter and form a grand scene. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye opened slightly and analyzed Lu Yuan's battle style. Elegant, clean. His offense and defense are average, but his speed is definitely not bad. Zhao Feng understood the situation. The strength he displayed was close to the half-step True Spirit Realm of the Canopy Great Country and was slightly stronger than the half-step True Spirit Realm of the 13 countries. Because of the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng and Lu Yuan could exchange a few moves. Of course, Lu Yuan's strength was suppressed to around 30%. If he used his full strength at the true spirit realm, the difference in cultivation couldn't be made up. After sparring for an hour, Zhao Feng had a rough understanding of Lu Yuan's strength. In order to express his gratitude, Zhao Feng suggested taming Lu Yuan's mount. Lu Yuan originally wanted to decline, but since Zhao Feng was extremely sincere, he agreed. He had long heard that Zhao Feng's beast-taming skills weren't simple. 2 hours later, Zhao Feng teamed up with the little thieving cat to tame Lu Yuan's rainbow sparrow. Compared to before the domestication, the colorful phosphorus swallow seemed to have become smarter and more intimate with its master. Many thanks, nephew. Lu Yuan was overjoyed. He didn't know that from the start, Zhao Feng had been scheming against him and had already succeeded. Success! Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat looked at each other before returning home. From now on, the plan to escape from the marriage was ready. Chapter 272. As the wedding neared, the entire flooding lake city was filled with a joyous atmosphere. Within the city lord's palace, red silk was hung on the trees and everywhere one looked was festive. There were only 3 days left until the day of the city lord's daughter's wedding. At this time, not only had Zhao Feng's plan been completed, the wedding within the city lord's palace had also been prepared. It's about time. The more people there are, the easier it is to take advantage of the situation. Zhao Feng walked out of his residence. Meow meow. The little thieving cat sat on his shoulder and looked around with its black eyes, casually chatting with the flying beasts within the city lord's palace. As soon as Zhao Feng left, Lu Yuan and the 4 half-step true spirit realm experts closely followed and stayed within 100 yards of him. Under normal situations, with 4 half-step true spirit realm experts watching over him, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to slip away. Furthermore, there was Lu Yuan, who was at the true spirit realm, watching over him. Zhao Feng walked to a place with more people and nodded his head. It's about time to start. Once the plan started, the city lord's palace would fall into chaos. Right at this moment, young lord, first young lady is trying on the wedding dress and the city lord wants you to go with her. The housekeeper of the city lord's palace walked over with a red face. Zhao Feng's figure froze and the method he was about to use was stopped. Meow meow. The little thieving cat on his shoulder seemed to be slightly unhappy. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded his head in agreement. He thought in his heart, oh well, I should at least give my fiancé an explanation before running away. At least leave a message. The housekeeper brought Zhao Feng to a festive room, and 1,000 maids quickly came to help him with his hair and clothes. It didn't take long for Zhao Feng to put on a fitting groom's clothes. The eyes of the nearby maids lit up. Zhao Feng's figure was tall and handsome. His face was angular and his expression was cold. His azure hair was like pure jade, even more exquisite than silk, and it gave off a feeling of spirituality. His eyes were like the stars. His left eye, in particular, was sparkling and translucent like a gem, yet also as deep as an abyss. Zhao Feng exuded a mysterious and evil aura. After putting on the groom's clothes, it added some warmth, making him seem approachable. Walking out of the room, Zhao Feng entered the hall and saw Lu Qinxin, who had finished trying on the costumes. Lu Qinxin's eyebrows were like a painting and her eyes were like 2 drops of autumn water. At this moment, she had already taken off her veil, revealing her ethereal and peerless face. Coupled with her cold and tranquil temperament, it added a sense of elegance and nobility to her. Because of her makeup, Lu Qinxin's cheeks were slightly red, showing the rare purity and charm of a young girl. Not bad, not bad. A perfect match. The flooding lake city lord laughed in satisfaction. Lu Qinxin was naturally flawless. Her beauty was out of this world. Zhao Feng would only see a beauty of this level once or twice in his life. As for Zhao Feng, because he had taken off his eye patch, his eye bloodline made him seem even more mysterious and noble. In Canopy Great Country, bloodlines weren't just a legend. For example, the Imperials and the four great families, bloodlines were the symbol of a noble bloodline. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had a rare eye bloodline. Therefore, at this moment, Zhao Feng's cold, noble, and mysterious temperament had reached the image of a husband that countless girls dreamed of. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye had an ancient aura that made others feel pressured wherever his gaze passed. The small number of people that had bloodlines felt their bloodlines tremble and uneasiness. Even the Flooding Lake City Lord and Lu Qinxin were no exception. This kid's bloodline is even stronger than I imagined. It can definitely compare to the Canopy Great Country Imperial's bloodline, or even stronger. Furthermore, it's a special eye bloodline. The more the Flooding Lake City Lord looked, the more satisfied he became. He was very proud of his plan. Thinking about his future son-in-law, the nobility of his bloodline had the possibility of surpassing the imperial bloodline. How proud would he be? In Canopy Great Country, families with bloodline inheritances would usually marry people with bloodline inheritances. At this moment, Zhao Feng's eye bloodline was something that the upper echelon of the Lu family couldn't find fault with. Furthermore, this youth was a rare beast tamer. Lu Qinxin was dressed in red, looking like a perfect wife. Her beautiful eyes turned as she observed her future husband. She had to admit that this youth had reached the ideal husband in her heart. What was even rarer was that he was her destined husband. She couldn't go against the will of her master. Even if the person she was going to marry was ugly and useless, she had to accept it. Fortunately, this fiancé of hers was mysterious and extraordinary. He was talented, good-looking, and had a noble bloodline. Of course, if he was more gentle and considerate, it would be even more perfect. I want to talk to Qin, alone. Zhao Feng's abnormally gentle voice sounded, causing Lu Qinxin's heart to shake. She couldn't help but think that her master was indeed worthy of being a genius that comprehended the Tao of life. He made her change her name, steal her fate, and even gave her such an outstanding husband. Thinking up to here, her eyes became slightly misty. In the eyes of others, she was gentle and moving. Ha ha ha, you guys have a good talk. I'll be leaving now. The Flooding Lake City Lord smiled and left, giving the couple some private space. Zhao Feng thought that sending the Flooding Lake City Lord away would be more beneficial to his plan. However, at this time, the gentle and moving beauty, who was full of tenderness and had tears in her eyes, for the first time, made him waver in his plan to escape from the marriage. However, Zhao Feng's mind was extremely calm. Right now, it wasn't suitable for him to get married. He still hadn't completed his master's orders. In the depths of his heart, Zhao Feng had an even deeper wish. He wanted to change the 13 countries, change the situation of his homeland, and reach the peak of the continent. Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin walked side by side into the room, leaving only the two of them behind. Lu Qinxin was filled with emotions. At this moment, Zhao Feng's gentleness made her feel a sense of peace and happiness. She was even more grateful towards her deceased master. Feng, I have a secret to tell you. Lu Qinxin smiled mysteriously. Oh? Zhao Feng looked at her. Lu Qinxin took out a rusty coin and smiled. This is something my master left behind. She said she wanted to give it to my future husband. Zhao Feng paused for a moment before taking the coin. Meow meow. The little thieving cat had appeared out of nowhere and was staring at the copper coin with sparkling eyes, looking like a greedy cat. Furthermore, my original name is Lu Qinxin. In order to change my fate, Master made me change my name to Qinxin. Once I find my ideal husband, I'll return to my original name. Lu Qinxin's eyes twinkled and her voice was filled with sweetness. In other words, at this moment, she had returned to being Lu Qinxin. Lu Qinxin. Lu Qinxin. Zhao Feng read these two names and almost cursed out loud. Xian and Xian, they sounded the same. His original intention was to find Lu Qinxin. Who would have thought that Lu Qinxin's master would change her disciple's name to Lu Qinxin and change her fate? What the hell? Zhao Feng resisted the urge to curse. Suddenly, his god's spiritual eye sensed something and felt that there was something fishy. Lu Qinxin's master made her disciple change her name and coincidentally met him, becoming her destined husband. How could there be such a coincidence? On the other hand, the little thieving cat's eyes spun as if it was thinking about something. Zhao Feng couldn't help but look at the little fraud. The little fraud waved his claws and gestured at Zhao Feng. What? You're saying that I've been schemed against? Zhao Feng couldn't help but click his tongue. The little fraud shook his head and then nodded and gestured. But maybe the content was too complicated and it ended there. However, the little fraud's goal was expressed. It instigated Zhao Feng to snatch the copper coin and run away from the marriage to make up for the losses and grievances of the past few days. What's wrong? Lu Qinxin found that Zhao Feng's expression wasn't normal. Nothing. Zhao Feng's expression didn't change as he put away the coin and hugged Lu Qinxin. He needed to calm this woman down first. Lu Qinxin's face was as red as blood, but she didn't resist and was unusually gentle. Got it. Seeing Zhao Feng take the coin, the little thieving cat was excited and danced on the side. Lu Qinxin felt embarrassed and lightly pushed Zhao Feng away. The feeling that the little thieving cat gave her was even more cunning than a fox. With an outsider here, how could she be warm to her future husband? Qinxin, I still have unfinished missions in Canopy Great Country. No matter if it's in the past or in the future, please forgive me for my negligence. Before Zhao Feng left, he left a sentence with deep meaning. Lu Qinxin thought that Zhao Feng was apologizing for his negligence and didn't think about anything else. After saying goodbye to Lu Qinxin, Zhao Feng took off his groom attire and walked out of the room. Soon, he walked to the entrance of the city lord's palace. There were many people here and it was very busy. It's starting. Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat greeted each other. Suddenly, in the depths of Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye, there seemed to be an azure abyss that spun rapidly. A wisp of mental energy fluctuation merged into heaven and earth. Meow meow. The little thieving cat cooperated and waved its paws. Because there were many people nearby, the mental energy fluctuation was covered by the crowd. Lu Yuan and the 4 cultivators at Half-Step True Spirit Realm followed Zhao Feng and were immersed in the joy of the wedding. Right at this moment, sharp hisses and roars of beasts could be heard coming from the city lord's mansion. Many spiritual beasts within the city lord's palace suddenly lost control and went berserk. This was especially so in the spiritual treasure garden of the city lord's palace. Powerful beasts broke through their restraints and ran everywhere. At this moment in time, the sky was filled with flames, wind, and lightning. On the ground nearby, buildings collapsed and dust billowed as screams sounded. The flying beasts and mounts all possessed extraordinary abilities. They were usually tamed and were extremely obedient. However, at this moment, most of the spiritual beasts lost control and went berserk. In a short while, there were even some flying beasts that flew out of the city lord's palace and brought chaos into the flooding lake city. Inside the city lord's mansion, the servants with lower cultivation bases were all scared stiff. They screamed and screamed in terror. The city lord's palace was at the center of the city and had always been peaceful. At this moment, it had fallen into chaos and most people panicked. The destructive power of these spiritual beasts was extraordinary. It was hard to imagine what kind of panic and chaos this would cause as they charged towards the flooding lake city outside the city lord's mansion. Quickly gather the beast tamers and restrain these beasts. The upper echelon of the city lord's palace soon gave the order. In this current situation, they either had to kill the spiritual beasts or subdue them. The loss of the former was too great and the latter was something only beast tamers specialized in. Although those at the true spirit realm could subdue these spiritual beasts, there was also a risk. Let me. Zhao Feng exclaimed lightly and confidently chased after a flying beast that had escaped from the city lord's palace. The nearby people all knew of his identity as a beast tamer and purposely made way for him. Chapter 273. In this chaotic moment, Zhao Feng's identity as a beast tamer came in handy. Even the people monitoring him didn't suspect anything. You guys are responsible for young master's safety. Lu Yuan had to take action to control the situation. No matter what, he was part of the upper echelon of the flooding Lake Lu family and couldn't just ignore the beasts. Furthermore, at this moment, apart from beast tamers, only those at the true spirit realm could do anything. Lu Yuan was forced to deal with the nearby beasts while the four dark-robed figures continued to follow Zhao Feng. The plan is going better than I imagined. Zhao Feng looked at the panicking city lord's palace and an undetectable smile appeared on his face. Only in this kind of chaotic situation would he be able to carry out his escape plan. The beasts in front of him were obviously planned by him and the little thieving cat. Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat could communicate with the beasts of the city lord's palace and use all sorts of methods to get them to rebel. Most of the work was done by the little thieving cat. Bastard! Stop right there. Zhao Feng leaped into the air and chased after a scarlet-black giant eagle with the head of a cat. This eagle had a wingspan of more than a dozen feet, and it exuded a dark red stream of heat that could melt metal. It was an extremely intimidating sight. When it went berserk, even those at the half-step true spirit realm would find it hard to stop it. One human and one eagle flew through the air and caused a wave of panic. As Zhao Feng chased after it, he used his beast tamer skills and the scarlet-black cat-head eagle started to struggle, but its berserk momentum was stopped. This way, the four dark-robed figures wouldn't be suspicious. Unknowingly, Zhao Feng had chased the cat-head eagle out of the city walls. Everyone move out of the way. I'm about to restrain this bastard. Zhao Feng ordered. After staying in the flooding lake city for half a year, Zhao Feng had a bit of fame as the son-in-law of the city lord. The guards all moved out of the way. At this moment, under Zhao Feng's beast-taming technique, the giant cat-headed eagle's berserk momentum was completely contained. Good, good. Zhao Feng got closer and closer. In fact, every single action of the crimson-black giant eagle was under Zhao Feng's control. Zhao Feng's mental energy level was much stronger than those at half-step true spirit realm and it was easy for him to control a pet at the seventh sky. Young master's beast-taming skills are indeed extraordinary. On the city wall, the four dark-robed figures nearby all nodded. The originally wild and violent giant bird was now very obedient and docile. However, just as Zhao Feng got close to the target, something unexpected occurred. The scarlet-black cat-headed eagle suddenly revealed an ominous glint. Its wings flapped wildly, stirring up a dark red flow of flames. It let out a sharp cry and tore through the air. Young master! The expressions of the four dark-robed figures changed. What a cunning bastard! Zhao Feng laughed instead of being angry. His competitive nature seemed to have been ignited as he summoned the azure sharp swallow and chased after the scarlet-black giant eagle. With the speed of the azure sharp swallow, Zhao Feng soon caught up to his target and they flew further and further away. Not right. The four dark-robed figures communicated with each other and felt that something was wrong. With Zhao Feng's beast-taming skills, taming a pet of the same rank shouldn't be this hard. Young master! Don't chase! Young master, the city lord has ordered that you can't leave the flooding lake city. The four dark-robed figures exclaimed. Zhao Feng ignored their calls and even threw the scarlet-black giant eagle down and flew further away. Not only that. The crimson-black giant eagle with a cat head even turned around and charged at the four dark-robed figures with a menacing aura. How could the four not understand Zhao Feng's intentions? Don't let him get away. The four dark-robed figures exclaimed as they released their chi of half-step true spirit. Shwa! Shwa! The four figures were like gray birds that flew through the air and closed in on Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng looked back and found that there was a pair of gray wings on the backs of the four dark-robed figures that had the ability to fly. The other effects were similar to his own shadow cloak. With the help of the gray wings, the four dark-robed figures circulated their chi of half-step true spirit and their speed rose dramatically, catching up to the azure sharp swallow in a short amount of time. In terms of continuous flight, they couldn't compare to the azure sharp swallow, but in a short amount of time, the four dark-robed figures were comparable to those at the true spirit realm. The scarlet-black giant eagle that Zhao Feng controlled was sliced in half by a silent blade as it neared. Instant kill. If it wasn't for the god's spiritual, Zhao Feng wouldn't have been able to see how one of the dark-robed figures had attacked. What strength! Their chi of half-step true spirit has all reached 50% and they specialize in tracking. Speed and movement are their forte. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. In terms of strength, the four dark-robed figures were elites amongst those at the half-step true spirit realm. They were all experienced and specialized in stealth. Under normal situations, it would be good if Zhao Feng could deal with two of them at the same time. But now, there were four of them. The most troublesome thing was that these four specialized in combined attacks and surrounded Zhao Feng from different directions. However, this wasn't the only problem. The time that Zhao Feng had to run away was limited. Even if he could stall for a bit, large amounts of reinforcements would arrive and some at the true spirit realm would arrive, making it hard for Zhao Feng to escape. Not long after, the four dark-robed figures formed a circle and tried to surround Zhao Feng. They were wary and didn't dare to injure Zhao Feng, which was why they used this strategy. If it was someone else, they would have already been sliced into 1,000 pieces. Young master, you should go back. This is the city lord's order. The leading dark-robed figure said respectfully. Zhao Feng expressionlessly put away the azure sharp swallow and landed on the ground. The four dark-robed figures surrounded Zhao Feng from the east, west, south and north, but they didn't make any rash moves. Shwa! Suddenly, the Yin shadow cloak on Zhao Feng's back flashed and disappeared. He's hidden. The expressions of the four dark-robed figures changed slightly, but they didn't panic. They all circulated their chi of true spirit and released their senses to the maximum. One of the dark-robed figures took out a furry black dog from his spiritual pet bag and started to search for the scent in the air. Since they specialized in stealth, they obviously had a way to counter it. However, no matter how many secret techniques they used, they couldn't find Zhao Feng's location. He's definitely surrounded by us. No matter how good his stealth is, he'll be exposed once he moves. The leading dark-robed figure said confidently. Shwa! Lightning flashed in the void, and a dim shadow drew a bolt of green lightning and attacked one of the dark-robed men at lightning speed. The dark-robed figure's expression instantly changed as he felt a slight numbness spread through his body. In his senses, a large hand flashing with lightning slapped towards his shoulder. Don't even think about it. The dark-robed figure didn't retreat and a layer of dark feather light shot out from his body and clashed with Zhao Feng. Boom! Under the clash, the dark-robed figure quickly retreated and groaned as a mark was left on his arm. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. He thought that the attack just then would heavily injure one of them, but it only caused light injuries. These four dark-robed men were well-versed in battle techniques and experience. They were impeccable in every aspect. Young master, don't resist. The other two dark-robed figures attacked Zhao Feng at almost the same time. Dagger, feather wings, darts, flute. The four of them each wielded a different weapon. In reality, they specialized in all four of these weapons, but when used together, they had incredible power. The flute let out a sharp mental energy sound wave that formed illusions and mental energy attacks. The dagger was in charge of close combat, the feather wings were in charge of blocking and the darts were in charge of long-range support. Young master, I think you should give up. Back then, when the four of us teamed up, we were even able to trap a true human rank expert for a while. The dark-robed leader who used the darts said confidently. Hee, is that so? I don't believe it. Zhao Feng laughed lightly and released a mental energy sound wave that caused the blood of the four dark-robed figures to flip and the one closest to him almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Shwa! Using this time, Zhao Feng's Yin shadow cloak shook and he turned into a faint azure light that flashed with lightning as he broke out of the encirclement. However, These dark-robed figures were harder to deal with than imagined. The dark-robed figure with the feather wings flashed like lightning and caught up to Zhao Feng. In terms of speed, this person was the fastest of the four and was on par with Zhao Feng. At the same time, the dart-throwing dark-robed figure sent out an attack to stall Zhao Feng. The flute-wielding dark-robed figure sent out a condensed sound wave that pierced towards Zhao Feng's ear. So troublesome. Zhao Feng felt his head hurt. This situation was only because the four had held back, or else he would have been in danger. Old Four, go back and report that the young master wants to escape. The dart-throwing dark-robed figure ordered. Shwa! The flute-wielding dark-robed figure quickly headed towards the flooding lake city. Zhao Feng's heart shook. These four dark-robed figures were indeed experienced. They could see that mental energy attacks had little effect on Zhao Feng, which was why they sent this person back to report. The remaining three only needed to block the three directions that Zhao Feng could escape in. Zhao Feng could only escape in three directions from the flooding lake city. If he ran towards the city, he would be walking into a trap. Smart, experienced, troublesome, Zhao Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. He finally realized that if he didn't go all out, he might really be left here. Under the restriction of the dagger, dart-throwing and wings figures, Zhao Feng could only watch as the flute-wielding dark-robed figure rushed towards the flooding lake city. The remaining three dark-robed figures formed a triangle to keep Zhao Feng in check. They didn't seek to win or kill the enemy, they only wanted to trap the enemy and keep the target. I only have 20 breaths of time left. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye quickly calculated and came to a conclusion. Within 10 breaths, the flute-wielding dark-robed figure would be able to reach the city and call for reinforcements. In the remaining 10 breaths, the nearby elite reinforcements would be able to arrive as well. After 20 breaths, Lu Yuan, who was at the true spirit realm, would realize that the situation wasn't right and would definitely chase over, attracting even more experts. Furthermore, within half the time it took to make tea, the flooding lake city lord would receive news of Zhao Feng's escape. At that time, what awaited Zhao Feng was the entire flooding lake city's wanted list. In other words, the key to whether or not Zhao Feng could escape was within the next 20 breaths. Chapter 274. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye analyzed the situation. However, the three dark-robed figures in front of him also understood the situation. Their only goal was to stall Zhao Feng. Let's begin. I'll defeat you in 20 breaths. Zhao Feng's azure hair blew and his god spiritual eye seemed to have the power to see through souls. When the azure blood on Zhao Feng's body formed a layer of azure like an ancient totem that gave off an ancient aura that was both noble and mysterious. After activating his bloodline power, Zhao Feng's eyebrows turned azure and his aura rose. His strength had risen by half a level. Shwa! Zhao Feng roared and sent a mental energy sound wave towards the three dark-robed figures. Ancient bloodline. The expressions of the three dark-robed figures changed as the pressure on them increased. They circulated their half-step true force to the maximum and sealed their ears and nose. Even so, a sliver of blood leaked from the mouth of the dark-robed figure in front of him. Facing three at half-step true spirit realm alone, he still had the upper hand. We can't hold back anymore. Stall him. The dart-throwing dark-robed figure waved his hand and dozens of darts formed a rain that sealed off all of Zhao Feng's escape routes. At the same time, the winged and dagger-wielding dark-robed figures had sharper attacks and unpredictable methods that were hard to defend against. The combined strength of the three pushed their battle power to the peak. According to past experience, no one under the true spirit realm could last 10 breaths against the three of them. If the four teamed up, they could even trap a normal true human rank for a while. However, the youth in front of them had his bloodline power and lightning attacks that were powerful enough to fight against the three at half-step true spirit realm. The three dark-robed figures became more and more shocked as they fought. Their weird attacks were all broken by Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's battle power could easily crush any one of them after activating his bloodline. If it wasn't for the fact that the three's teamwork was perfect, they wouldn't have been able to trap Zhao Feng for 30 breaths. Shwa! Whoosh! Zhao Feng's movement technique was like a bolt of lightning. His god's spiritual eye controlled the entire situation, perfectly dispelling the attacks of the three and launching thunderous counterattacks. 10 breaths passed. On the bodies of the three dark-robed men, there were more or less some scratches and blood stains. How strange! None of our actions can escape his eyes. This is young master's eye bloodline. Even the three of us together aren't his match. He has hidden himself so deeply that even the city lord would not be able to predict it. The faces of the three dark-robed men were filled with shock. With every breath that passed, Zhao Feng's advantage would increase, and he would slowly suppress their joint efforts. Zhao Feng's lightning inheritance had reached the full mastery of the first level. His control and usage of lightning had far surpassed the lightning wind palm. Attack, defense, body movement, secret technique. Every movement of Zhao Feng's was like a melody of electricity. You guys, get out of the way. Zhao Feng pressed forward with a cold look on his face. At this point in the battle, he had held back and didn't kill them all. Although he wanted to escape, he didn't treat the Flooding Lake City Lord and Lu Qinqin as enemies. After all, no matter what the Flooding Lake City Lord planned, he didn't have any ill intentions towards Zhao Feng. Moreover, these dark-robed figures were only trying to stall Zhao Feng, not trying to kill him. This meant that both sides were holding back and didn't want to harm each other's lives. Young master, we admire your strength. I'm afraid that even if all of us were here, we wouldn't be your match. The leading dark-robed man said respectfully. At this point in time, they admired Zhao Feng's battle power from the bottom of their hearts. The Dark Wings Four Shadows was a small group that specialized in tracking and assassination. In a short span of 10 breaths, they had used all sorts of methods. If it was someone at half-step True Spirit Realm, they would have been killed countless times already. However, Zhao Feng's eyes were like that of a god that could see through everything. He used lightning-fast methods to destroy their cooperation and even force them into a ruffled state. If Zhao Feng really wanted to kill them, he would have killed at least one of them. Young master, we know that you've shown mercy. However, our duty is to keep you here even if we die. The dark-robed man said bitterly, but his eyes were resolute. Young master, why do you have to make things difficult for us? The daughter of the city lord is extremely beautiful, talented, and has a high status. The two of you are a perfect match. The three dark-robed men tried to persuade them as they fought. Since the hard way didn't work, they could only use the soft way. On the other side, the short flute man of the Dark Wings Four Shadows flew towards the city wall. On the city wall, a youth in purple armor gazed into the distance and said curiously, "What's going on? It seems like they've started fighting." Zhao Feng and the Four Shadows. The youth in purple armor was Lu Yuan, the one who had received Zhao Feng and Uncle Lu. He was one of the elites of the Flooding Lake Lu family. Back then, it was Lu Yuan who had brought the news of the marriage contest to Zhao Feng. Later on, when Zhao Feng became the city lord's son-in-law, Lu Yuan was envious and could only sigh. Why would the Four Shadows attack Zhao Feng? Isn't he the city lord's son-in-law about to get married? Lu Yuan was puzzled. No matter how much he thought about it, he would never have imagined that Zhao Feng would run away from the marriage. After all, marrying a girl like Lu Qinqin was the dream of countless men in the Flooding Lake City. The city lord's son-in-law wants to run away. Send reinforcements. The dark-robed man with the short flute flashed a token. What? Zhao Feng ran away. Lu Yuan was dumbfounded. His mouth opened so wide that an apple could fit inside. What are you spacing out for? I'm going to report this to the city lord. The dark-robed man turned into a blur and flew into the Flooding Lake City. Quick! Gather the elites and capture the city lord's son-in-law. Lu Yuan finally reacted. At this moment, his emotions were extremely complicated. Thinking back, it was him who had brought Zhao Feng into the flooding lake city and introduced him to the marriage contest. And now, he was going to personally capture Zhao Feng. By the time Lu Yuan gathered the elites and set off, Zhao Feng had calculated the time to be 20 breaths. Around 10 breaths had passed. 10 breaths. 9 breaths. 8 breaths. Reinforcements are about to arrive. The three dark-robed figures followed closely behind Zhao Feng and circulated their chi of half-step true spirit. Looks like I'll have to pay a price. Zhao Feng sighed lightly. As his figure flashed, he suddenly stopped and appeared in the middle of the three dark-robed men. Zhao Feng's body was surrounded by a faint azure barrier of lightning that looked like a spider web. All the attacks that came close to the lightning shield would be turned into ashes by the powerful lightning. Such a strong defense was the reason why Zhao Feng was able to face three experts at half-step true spirit realm. The instant he stood up, Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye contracted and his azure hair flowed like a waterfall as he spread his arms. In a split second, his entire body was encircled by an intense green electric current. Even the lightning elemental energy in the surroundings started to move abnormally. At this moment, Zhao Feng's comprehension of the lightning inheritance had reached a peak. The deathly stillness before the storm made the three dark-robed figures unable to breathe. Not good. He's going to use a powerful move. The three men in dark robes found it hard to breathe. The air was filled with numbness, and the air was filled with electric shocks. Ring of lightning. Zhao Feng spread his arms and his azure hair danced in the air. Arcs of azure lightning formed a chain that swept in every direction. Chain-shaped arcs of lightning spread through the air from Zhao Feng's feet and instantly covered a radius of 20 yards. In an instant, the area 10 yards under Zhao Feng's feet turned into a scorched pit. Arg! The three men in dark robes surrounding him trembled violently as the rippling electric rings swept over them, as if they were convulsing. The first breath. The three trembled and their bodies froze. The second breath. The closest dark-robed figure's feet were scorched black as he fell to the ground. Soon, the third breath, the fourth breath. The other two dark-robed figures were unable to control their bodies and fell to the ground. The ring of lightning was extremely powerful. It formed an area of effect attack, and the powerful electric shock caused the bodies of all living beings to go numb. Plop! 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 The three dark-robed men fell to the ground in shock and helplessness. If it wasn't for the fact that they had circulated their chi of half-step true spirit to the maximum to protect their bodies, they would have probably turned into 3 pieces of charcoal. Hu Xiaofeng let out a long breath as he slowly put down his hands and the ring of lightning around him disappeared. Activating the ring of lightning had lasted for several breaths. After defeating the three, Zhao Feng's true force had been reduced by a quarter. From this, one could see the cost. Young master, the three dark-robed figures couldn't even speak as their bodies trembled. In a short amount of time, the three at half-step true spirit realm were paralyzed on the ground and had lost 70% of their battle power. They could no longer pose any threat to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's face was expressionless as he quickly ate a precious true yuan pill to recover his energy. At the same time, he summoned the azure sharp swallow and was about to fly away. Zhao Feng, don't even think about running. Lu Yuan led the 2 guards at half-step true spirit realm and chased after him. Behind them was a group of 100 people. Looking at the 3 paralyzed dark-robed figures on the ground, Lu Yuan was stunned. He had personally seen Zhao Feng use the ring of lightning to make these people lose their battle power. At this moment, he was sitting on the 2-headed flaming bird and was like a ball of red flame that shot towards Zhao Feng. Lu Yuan, you're too late. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and boarded the azure sharp swallow. Even if he was surrounded by these people, he didn't need to worry. After all, a group like the Dark Wings for Shadows was hard to replicate. This loose group would allow Zhao Feng to escape unscathed before they even surrounded him. He was even confident that he could kill them all. Zhao Feng, if you have the ability, let's fight one-on-one. Lu Yuan exclaimed as his battle intent surged. Seeing Zhao Feng's strength, his competitive spirit was ignited. Zhao Feng's escape would definitely anger the city lord and the Lu family. If he could defeat him, he might even be able to replace his fiancée's position. One-on-one. Zhao Feng stood on the azure sharp swallow and looked at Lu Yuan and the group with a mocking smile. Do you dare? Everyone, retreat 20 yards. Lu Yuan tried to provoke the group behind him. Regardless of whether Zhao Feng fought or not, he first created a situation where he could fight one-on-one. Once Zhao Feng fought, even if he lost, he would be able to stall for time and more reinforcements would arrive. Why wouldn't I dare? Zhao Feng stood with his hands behind his back as he faced the hundreds of pursuers. He thought in his heart that although he had used up a lot of true force, his mental energy was still full. Quickly dealing with this tale would save him trouble. Ha. Let's have a fair fight. Lu Yuan was overjoyed as he roared and charged towards Zhao Feng. One move to decide the winner. Zhao Feng did not move as he opened his god's spiritual eye. There seemed to be an azure abyss in his eyes that extended infinitely. Chapter 275. Decide victory in one move. Lu Yuan snickered coldly in his heart as his chi of half-step true spirit surged like a raging flame. Facing Zhao Feng, Lu Yuan didn't dare to be careless. After all, he had personally seen Zhao Feng use his ultimate move to defeat 3 of the Dark Wings for Shadows. In terms of strength, Lu Yuan didn't think he was weaker than any one of the Dark Wings for Shadows. 1 against 2 would be difficult, but 1 against 3 would definitely lose. However, Zhao Feng had just experienced an intense battle and would definitely be exhausted. Only then did Lu Yuan have the confidence to issue a challenge. However, you want to beat me in one move? Lu Yuan's eyes were filled with coldness as his chi of half-step true spirit boiled and a scarlet flame appeared around his body. He was like a scarlet-red shadow that destroyed everything. However, in his vision, Zhao Feng stood motionlessly on the azure sharp swallow with his hands behind his back. He's not going to make a move. Lu Yuan, the 2 half-step true spirit realm cultivators, and the pursuers behind him were all surprised. Zhao Feng's expression was cold and full of mockery as he placed his hands behind his back, with no intention of making a move. What did he mean? This Zhao Feng's too arrogant. Lu Yuan is burning his chi of half-step true spirit and his battle power is close to the true spirit realm. Even the Dark Wings 4 Shadows wouldn't dare to face him head-on. Everyone stared at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng didn't make a move. His only action was to open his god's spiritual eye and glance at Lu Yuan. Ah! The gazes of those behind him met the azure eye and felt as if their consciousness had been sucked out and they were standing on a cliff. Cold sweat appeared on their backs. It was hard to imagine the pressure the latter had to bear. Wu Lu Yuan's consciousness shook and was sucked away by Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. Wu Lu Yuan's mind shook and his consciousness was sucked away by Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. Wu Lu Yuan's consciousness shook and was sucked away by Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. Lu Yuan's body froze in the air as he struggled. Plop! Lu Yuan's body fell from the sky. His entire body was drenched in cold sweat. His face was pale, and he was extremely exhausted. You. Lu Yuan half knelt on the ground with fear, shock and exhaustion. He seemed to be on the verge of fainting. The expressions of the pursuers changed dramatically. The 2 guard captains at half-step true spirit realm took in a cold breath. With just one glance, Zhao Feng's eye bloodline had killed Lu Yuan. Of the group, Lu Yuan's strength was the strongest. The other 2 at half-step true spirit realm were slightly weaker. That youth stood on the azure sharp swallow with his hands behind his back. His azure hair fluttered in the wind, making him look mysterious and strange. I didn't think that my god's god. Lu Yuan was slightly surprised. In the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss had reached the limit of 7 feet and 77 feet. In, he, I, true God, and Yuan, said, Chen's God, I, phone, and said. San, that phone, his mental energy level wasn't any weaker than those at the true spirit realm. Using the god's spiritual eye to create the illusion prison to trap and torture Lu Yuan didn't consume much of Zhao Feng's mental energy. Moreover, the recovery rate of his mind power was much faster than before. If that's the case, Zhao Feng stood on the azure sharp swallow and continued to rise into the air. The two half-step true spirit realm and hundreds of pursuers didn't give up. Shwa! Zhao Feng coldly opened his god's spiritual eye and stared at the other two half-step true spirit realm guards. Plop! Plop! The two half-step true spirit realm fell from the air with shock and pain on their faces. Their bodies were drenched in cold sweat, as if they were about to fall apart. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye had been modified according to Lin Tong's heavenly absent eye and was more suitable for the god's spiritual eye. The god's spiritual eye was much stronger than Lin Tong's eye bloodline in terms of mental energy source and talent. With a thought, Zhao Feng could create an illusion prison to torture the opponent's consciousness. In the mental energy world, time flowed differently than in the real world. In the blink of an eye, an hour might have passed in the mental energy world. When the opponent's consciousness was tortured to the point of exhaustion, they would lose control of their body. Mental energy consciousness was the core of life. Even if one's body and true force were heaven-defying, if their mental energy consciousness was destroyed, they would just be a pile of flesh and blood. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye had stared a total of 3 times and Lu Yuan and the other two half-step true spirit realm were all defeated. This Zhao Feng, Lu Yuan was drenched in cold sweat as pain and exhaustion enveloped his body. In his vision, Zhao Feng sat on the azure sharp swallow with his hands behind his back as his figure became smaller and smaller in the clouds. The 3 dark-robed figures and Lu Yuan and company could only watch as Zhao Feng flew away. This was especially so for Lu Yuan. His emotions were extremely complex and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Back then, it was he who had welcomed this youth into the flooding lake city. Today, he had personally sent Zhao Feng off. This meant that he had witnessed everything that this youth had experienced in the flooding lake city, from start to finish. I didn't think that he had hidden such strength. Mental energy eye technique? He didn't use it when he fought us just then. The 3 dark-robed figures on the ground were filled with shock and bitterness. Of course. When Zhao Feng fought them, he wasn't suitable to use this method. This was because the dark wings for shadows had perfectly coordinated with each other. Zhao Feng's illusion prison required him to be extremely focused against those at half-step true spirit realm. At the very least, he couldn't be distracted for 1 or 2 breaths. Even though he could kill one of the dark-robed figures with a single glance, the others would have plenty of opportunities to capture and kill him a few times over. This was also why Zhao Feng was full of mockery when Lu Yuan suggested a one-on-one fight and a fair fight. On the spot, more than 100 pursuers stood dazed on the scorched ground. No one under half-step true spirit realm could catch up to Zhao Feng. Even if they could, it would be useless. Who could block one of his eyes? We've tried our best. Only those at the true spirit realm can deal with him now. Lu Yuan powerlessly fell to the ground. Dozens of breaths later, from the direction of the flooding lake city came the sound of flying and a powerful aura of the true spirit realm approached. True spirit realm. Lu Yuan and company were overjoyed. A few breaths later, a man dressed like a scholar and holding a black brush landed at the scene of the incident. What happened? Where did Zhao Feng go? Uncle Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's eyes went red and he almost started to cry. This male at the true spirit realm was Lu Yuan. Before, due to the beasts going berserk, Lu Yuan, being an expert at the true spirit realm, helped settle the chaos. However, after a while, he lost sight of Zhao Feng and immediately went to find him. On the way, he met the messenger of the Dark Wings for Shadows. The Dark Wings for Shadows, and the 6 half-step true spirit realms of the city guards all lost to him? Lu Yuan's expression changed in disbelief. His eyes scanned across the 10-yard-wide scorched hole that was still smoking. The destructive power was terrifying. In the scorched hole, the 3 dark-robed figures were still paralyzed and hadn't recovered their true force. Lu Yuan and company didn't have any injuries, but they were exhausted and had no energy to control their bodies. How could he? Lu Yuan was dazed and couldn't believe that the scene in front of him had been left behind by a junior at the 7th sky. On the contrary, if Lu Yuan and company said that this was caused by a true spirit realm, he would believe it without a doubt. In just a short 20 to 30 breaths, he had defeated the Dark Wings for Shadows and made Lu Yuan and company lose their battle power. Even normal true human rank experts wouldn't be able to do this. This was especially so for the Dark Wings for Shadows. They specialized in combined attacks and could even trap those at the true human rank for a while. Such a powerful lineup was actually defeated by a youth in an instant. Where did that Zhao Feng run off to? After Lu Yuan got the answer, she turned into a bright white rainbow light and pierced through the clouds in an instant. Her aura was astonishing. The speed of those at the true spirit realm in a short amount of time far surpassed flying beasts at the 7th sky. What happens next has nothing to do with us. But we still need to ask for forgiveness from the city lord. The dark-robed figures had bitter expressions. As time passed, more and more people arrived and there were even figures at the true spirit realm. Without an exception, when these people saw the scene, they were all shocked. A measly youth at the 7th sky has such power? The son-in-law of the city lord actually ran away from the wedding? What a joke! After the commotion of the beast stopped, another wave broke out in the flooding lake city. This news quickly spread to the flooding lake city and the city lord's palace. City lord's palace. The flooding lake city lord stood with his hands behind his back. In front of him was a trembling dark-robed figure. Running away from the wedding. He dares to run away from the wedding. A measly junior at the 7th sky dares to run away from your sight? The flooding lake city lord's originally scholarly face turned cold and dark. His breathing was rapid and his chest heaved up and down as an unprecedented anger was brewing. The true human rank experts next to him didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The flooding lake city lord was the genius of the flooding lake Lu family and was famed for his scholarly and scheming. This was the first time they had seen the city lord so angry that he couldn't even control himself. Reporting to the city lord. Zhao Feng defeated 3 people from the Dark Wings shadow. Reporting to the city lord. Zhao Feng defeated 3 experts at the half-step true spirit realm and rode the azure sharp swallow. No one can stop him. Reporting to the city lord. Lord Lu Yuan has personally gone to capture Zhao Feng. News after news quickly spread to the city lord's palace. With every new piece of news, the anger on the flooding lake city lord's face would increase. The powerful combination of Shadow of the Dark Feather was actually defeated by him. Lu Yuan and company weren't even able to block a glance from him. The flooding lake city lord was both shocked and angry as his roar spread across the city lord's palace. At this moment in time, the clouds above the city lord's palace seemed to tremble, showing the flooding lake city lord's limitless anger. Pass down the order to capture Zhao Feng in the flooding lake area. The enraged voice pierced through the clouds under the incomparable majesty. An elder at the true mystic rank side, the only person that can catch up to Zhao Feng seems to be Lu Yuan. That's right. As long as Lu Yuan can catch up, Zhao Feng won't be able to escape. Many people placed their hopes on Lu Yuan, who was at the true spirit realm. From the current situation, only those at the true spirit realm could deal with Zhao Feng. Chapter 276. In the air, the azure sharp swallow spread its wings and Zhao Feng stood with his hands behind his back. At this point in time, he closed his eyes and used the time to digest the medicine and recover his yuan qi. With the ancient bloodline, Zhao Feng's recovery speed was much faster than others, and in just a short while, he had almost recovered. At a certain moment, Zhao Feng opened his eyes and a faint blue light flashed in the center of his azure eyes. Could it be that my left eye is going to change again? Zhao Feng murmured. After fighting for a while, Zhao Feng constantly circulated his god's spiritual eye, and the mysterious faint blue aura would occasionally appear. His hand gently caressed the pure green hair. Unknowingly, 1 or 2 strands of blue hair had appeared in the small tuft of azure hair. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly as his expression became solemn. An extremely small portion of his spirited green hair was beginning to turn a dreamy light blue. The faint blue aura in his left eye, the strands of blue hair, what did all of this mean? Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled with joy, uneasiness, and expectation. Right at this moment, from the clouds behind came the sound of something flying through the air. The aura of the true spirit realm, not good. Zhao Feng's expression changed. His god's spiritual eye looked back and saw a white figure chasing after him from 10 to 20 miles away. Lu Yuan. Zhao Feng instantly recognized the identity of the person. Before running away, Zhao Feng had specially interacted with this Lu Yuan. Zhao Feng. Why aren't you coming back with me to the city to apologize? Lu Yuan's righteous voice contained the aura of the true spirit realm and resounded through the clouds, causing the nearby birds to scatter in fear. Zhao Feng stood on the azure sharp swallow with his hands behind his back, and a mocking smile appeared on his face, but he didn't reply. Lu Yuan's anger was ignited. This Zhao Feng wasn't just arrogant, he didn't even put those at the true spirit realm in his eyes. Could it be that he thinks he can fight against those at the true spirit realm? Lu Yuan recalled Zhao Feng's recent achievements and stopped underestimating him. However, Lu Yuan didn't believe that a junior at the 7th sky who hadn't even reached the half-step true spirit realm could fight against those at the true spirit realm. Normal true human rank experts can only fly for 10 to 20 miles before running out of energy. Past 1 to 2 miles, they'll be exhausted. Zhao Feng's face was calm. They were in the air, not on the ground. Those at the true spirit realm could use their own power to break through the restrictions of the ground and fly. However, humans were not birds after all, nor were they a species that was good at flying. Therefore, the flying ability of a true human rank was weaker than some flying beasts. However, the explosive power of those at the true spirit realm couldn't be underestimated. This Lu Yuan is 10 to 20 miles away from me. By the time he catches up to me, he'll have passed the time limit. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye was very precise. If it was any other transcending mortality stage cultivator, they would have lost all hope after being hunted down by a true spirit realm cultivator. On the other hand, Zhao Feng's mind was calm as he calculated the pros and cons of both sides. Even with Zhao Feng's current strength, his chances of winning against Lu Yuan at the true spirit realm was less than 30%. Lu Yuan wasn't dumb and didn't continue to use her chi of true spirit. Instead, she summoned her flying mount Rainbow Sparrow. This Rainbow Sparrow was the same size as the azure sharp swallow, but it was light and fast. Its cultivation had also reached the half-step true spirit realm. When the Rainbow Sparrow flew at full speed, its speed was even slightly faster than the azure sharp swallow. The distance between the two was closing. Lu Yuan laughed arrogantly, "Zhao Feng, there's no hope for you anymore. Hurry up and surrender." Zhao Feng didn't move as he watched Lu Yuan close in on him. The pressure of the true spirit realm made the azure sharp swallow tremble uneasily. Not long after, Lu Yuan was 10 miles away from Zhao Feng, and the smile on the former's face became calmer. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng suddenly whistled as his god's spiritual eye gave off a weird undulation. In the next instant, the colorful phosphorus swallow under Lu Yuan's feet let out a shrill cry and frantically flapped its wings. The dazzling multicolored light turned into a tornado that swept in all directions. "Sparrow! Sparrow! What's wrong?" Lu Yuan was caught off guard. The Rainbow Sparrow clashed with him and attacked crazily. The first round of attacks had even left him with some light injuries. Immediately following, the rainbow phosphorus flying swallow screeched and lost its consciousness. It fell onto the mountain peak below, causing the mountain rocks to split apart and dust to fly everywhere. The rainbow phosphorus flying swallow was directly smashed to pieces. Sparrow Lu Yuan's face was filled with anger as he stared coldly at Zhao Feng. "Shameless brat, how dare you harm my mount?" He suddenly remembered that when Zhao Feng sparred with him last time, he had offered to tame his mount. At that time, Lu Yuan didn't suspect anything. After all, after taming it, it had become smarter and more obedient. Furthermore, no one would have thought that Zhao Feng would run away and betray the flooding Lake City Lord. "How will you chase me after losing your mount?" Zhao Feng smiled faintly. This escape from the marriage could be said to have been meticulously planned and calculated all kinds of possibilities. Especially Lu Yuan, who was the true spirit realm expert that Zhao Feng would most likely fight against. If he didn't trap him, Zhao Feng's escape plan would fail. 10 miles is more than enough to chase you," Lu Yuan exclaimed as a white light shone from his body and chased after Zhao Feng. Normal true human rank cultivators could only maintain their speed for 10 to 20 miles. In this period of time, Lu Yuan's speed surpassed the Azure Sharp Swallow by a level. After 20 miles, he would enter a stalemate with the Azure Sharp Swallow, and as time passed, he would become slower. Lu Yuan was closing in bit by bit and within a few miles. "Hee, let's wait and see the battle in the sky." Zhao Feng laughed lightly as the Luoho bow appeared in his hand. In terms of attack range, even those at the true spirit realm couldn't compare to bows. Zhao Feng circulated his true force and bloodline power, and the surface of the Luoho bow was covered in a layer of azure lightning and an icy blue light that covered Zhao Feng's body. Chiao! Arcs of lightning appeared on the Luoho arrow and a ring of wind formed on its tail. Bang! Bang! Whoosh! 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 3 chilling lightning arrows streaked across the void, crisscrossing with each other, leaving an unbelievably nimble trajectory as they streaked across an area of several miles like lightning. Lu Yuan, who was flying at high speed, heard the crackling of electricity. Traces of coldness and electric shock came from the nearby void. Although he was flying and his movements were agile, he couldn't avoid the 3 Luoho arrows no matter what. After being refined, the grade of the Luoho bow had reached the peak of the mortal grade, and along with the high-grade Luoho arrows, its power had reached the limit of a mortal-grade weapon. Zhao Feng circulated his bloodline power and merged the lightning inheritance into it. Each Luoho arrow could instantly kill those at the 7th sky or even those at the half-step true spirit realm. Even someone as strong as Lu Yuan felt the threat of the Luoho arrows. He took a deep breath, and a black brush appeared in his hand. He waved it forcefully, and a streak of white mist soared up to 100 or 2 zhang, bold and unrestrained. Lu Yuan's next attack was much stronger than Zhao Feng's ring of lightning. Ding! Pang! The Luoho arrows clashed with Lu Yuan's attack and exploded with a terrifying coldness and lightning. Lu Yuan could easily deal with the Luoho bow's attack, but the coldness and numbness contained within was terrifying. Every time he dealt with it, his speed would slow down. On the other hand, Zhao Feng's Luoho arrows instantly returned to their original positions and shot through the air, sending arcs of cold lightning toward Lu Yuan. In the air, not only did Lu Yuan have to fly, he also had to deal with the arrows, slowing down his speed. In just 10 breaths' time, Lu Yuan was in a ruffled state. If it was on the ground, he would have already charged up, and even if there were 3 to 5 cultivators at the half-step true spirit realm, he would be able to finish them off in an instant. However, this was the domain of the sky, a battle in the sky. Zhao Feng stood on the Azure Sharp Swallow and didn't need to use any true force to fly. From the start, he had taken care of Lu Yuan's mount and had the advantage. "Junior! Don't let me catch you!" Lu Yuan furiously circulated her chi of true spirit and almost burned all of it. Back then, the first elder of the Broken Moon clan had burned his chi of true spirit to kill a cultivator at the True Spirit realm from the Iron Dragon country, giving the Broken Moon clan a chance to breathe. Although Lu Yuan had gone crazy, he wasn't in a life and death situation and didn't dare to truly burn his chi of true spirit. Once he burned his chi of true spirit, it would harm his foundation and might cause him to drop in cultivation or lose any hope of breaking through in the future. Almost burning his chi of true spirit, Lu Yuan's exhausted speed once again rose. Zhao Feng shot out 3 arrows at lightning speed which were blocked by Lu Yuan, causing him to be lightly injured as he closed in. Only 2 miles left. Zhao Feng's expression was solemn as he took a deep breath and roared. His mental energy sound boomed like thunder. He didn't hope that this would be able to stop Lu Yuan. Suddenly, his god's spiritual eye was pushed to the limit. There seemed to be an azure abyss in his left eye that extended infinitely. Lu Yuan's mind shook and his consciousness shook as he struggled. Wu Zhaofeng felt that it was extremely difficult. The mental energy illusion created by the god's spiritual eye was several times harder than the half-step true spirit realm. At this point in time, his god's spiritual eye had also been pushed to the limit. When a faint blue light suddenly appeared in the azure abyss, the power of Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye instantly increased by half a level. Shwa! Lu Yuan had the illusion that she had been transported to another space. She was trapped in an iron prison with bursts of green lightning. Under her feet was a bottomless abyss, and above her head was a majestic thundercloud. This place is... Lu Yuan's heart jumped. He had fallen into the opponent's mental energy illusion. In the illusion prison created by Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye, Lu Yuan's consciousness was being tortured endlessly. However, Zhao Feng was barely able to pull the opponent into the illusion prison. To stabilize the illusion prison and trap the opponent, the mental energy expenditure was more than 10 times that of normal 7th sky cultivators. In the mental energy illusion, the resistance of those at the true spirit realm was like an ocean. A breath later, cold sweat appeared on Zhao Feng's forehead and his mental energy was extremely weak. At the same time, Lu Yuan struggled to break out of the illusion prison. His face was filled with anger and humiliation, but his mental energy was extremely weak. Thinking about how he, an expert at the true spirit realm, had been tortured by Zhao Feng for an entire 2 hours, the humiliation was indescribable. Chapter 277. In the air. Zhao Feng still stood on the back of the azure sharp swallow and the abyss in the center of his azure left eye was slightly dimmer. Using the god's spiritual eye to create an illusion prison to restrict and torture the consciousness of those at the true spirit realm required several times more mental energy than those at the half-step true spirit realm. Even though Zhao Feng's source of mental energy was strong, it was still slightly tiring. More importantly, he had tortured Lu Yuan for an entire 2 hours in the mental energy dimension and the latter's mental energy consciousness hadn't been weakened to the limit. The aura of the true spirit realm still lingered in the air, but it seemed to be lacking in power. Lu Yuan's chi of true spirit was faintly dimmer. Just a breath's time had caused his body to descend and increase the distance between them. Lu Yuan's mental energy consciousness had been weakened and was extremely tired. At this point in time, he only had 70% of his peak strength. Adding on the fact that he had almost burnt his chi of half-step true spirit, he wasn't able to continue. Lu Yuan and Zhao Feng were still facing each other in the air. However, the distance between the two was slowly increasing. One had a spiritual pet and the other didn't. In a battle in the air, the difference was extremely obvious. Only those at the true lord rank would be able to fight in the air for a long time. Shameless brat. Lu Yuan gritted his teeth. His face was filled with hatred, but his eyes were also filled with helplessness. From that day in the city lord's palace, Zhao Feng had schemed against him for today's battle. At this point in time, he could only watch as Zhao Feng flew further and further away until he turned into a black dot and merged into the sky. Lu Yuan was weak and helpless, a gloomy anger was stifling in her chest. To think that he, an expert at the true spirit realm, would fail in chasing a junior at the seventh sky. If Lu Yuan hadn't caught up to Zhao Feng, it would have been fine. However, he had caught up to Zhao Feng and the two had fought for a while. However, the one who lost out was him. Zhao Feng sat on the azure sharp swallow and flew further and further until he was 100 miles away. He then opened his god's spiritual eye and scanned his surroundings. After making sure that no one noticed him, Zhao Feng put away the azure sharp swallow, activated the Yin shadow cloak, and blended into the forest. As long as one wasn't at the true spirit realm, it would be hard to find him if they used their spiritual sense to search around. At that time, Zhao Feng could use the power of the Yin shadow cloak to appear and disappear mysteriously. It was for this reason that Zhao Feng chose to repel Lu Yuan instead of using the dark shadow cloak. Because Lu Yuan didn't have a flying beast as a mount, she had to keep flying. After fighting for a while, she had used up a lot of energy and slowly landed on the ground. After half a cup of tea's time. So a piercing sound came from behind along with the aura of someone at the true spirit realm. The newcomer was a black-armored general. His cultivation had reached the true human rank, and his aura was even stronger than Lu Yuan's. Lu Yuan recognized this person. He was the commander of the Flooding Lake City's garrison. At this moment, they were of the same generation and level. Lu Yuan's face was full of guilt and dispiritedness. She didn't even know what to say. The black-armored commander swept his gaze over Lu Yuan, who was seated cross-legged below, and was startled. Lu Yuan looked very weak. Her clothes were torn in several places, and there were even a few scorch marks on her face. She was in a rather sorry state. "Brother Lu, where did that brat run off to? Did you meet another expert at the true spirit realm?" The black-armored commander's expression was solemn. This kind of situation could only happen if the enemy had an expert at the true spirit realm. He knew Lu Yuan's strength very well. He had cultivated in the Qin Sword Palace and specialized in movement skills. He could even deal with one or two normal true human rank experts in a short amount of time. With this question, Lu Yuan's handsome face went red and he said bitterly, "There's no other experts at the true human rank. I let that brat run away. How was this possible?" The black-armored commander's eyes bulged out, as if he couldn't believe this result. So, at this moment, the sound of flying came from behind. A few fast-flying beasts had arrived. The first batch of reinforcements were all at the half-step true spirit realm and seventh sky. There was also another expert at the true spirit realm. When they saw Lu Yuan's dispiritedness, they were all surprised. Zhao Feng ran in that direction, but it's hard to say if he'll change direction and hide in the forest. Lu Yuan didn't want to talk about the exact situation and only pointed out the direction that Zhao Feng had escaped in. In reality, Lu Yuan didn't have much hope of catching Zhao Feng. The Canopy Great Country was too big. Just the area around the flooding lake was comparable to the entire Cloud Country. No matter how stupid Zhao Feng was, he wouldn't run in the same direction. Flooding Lake City, City Lord's Palace. News regarding the pursuit of Zhao Feng had reached the Flooding Lake City Lord. There's 5 experts at the True Spirit Realm, close to 100 at the 7th Sky and Half-Step True Spirit Realm, and over 1,000 others chasing after Zhao Feng. A city guard captain said. "I don't care what methods you use. I just want to know the result of catching Zhao Feng." The Flooding Lake City Lord's voice was cold and authoritative. Today, he had been angrier than he had been in the past 10 years, greatly damaging his scholarly image. His son-in-law running away had caused the entire Flooding Lake City to fall into chaos. Countless experts had been sent out, but they still hadn't caught him in a short amount of time. Furthermore, the people chasing after Zhao Feng had all failed, greatly damaging the Flooding Lake City's reputation. Lu Yuan is the first expert at the True Spirit Realm to catch up to Zhao Feng. Whether he succeeds or not will depend on him. Next to the Flooding Lake City Lord was an elder at the True Mystic rank who had a high status and seniority. The nearby people also faintly nodded their heads. If even Lu Yuan, the fastest cultivator at the true spirit realm, couldn't catch up to him, then it would be hard to catch up to Zhao Feng with how many methods he had. Although Lu Yuan's performance wasn't outstanding after returning from the Qin Sword Palace, at least he didn't disappoint me. The Flooding Lake City Lord faintly nodded his head. Right now, his biggest hope was still on Lu Yuan. Shua! A ghost-like figure flashed in front of the Flooding Lake City Lord. Reporting to the City Lord, Lu Yuan's attempt to catch Zhao Feng has ended in failure. The figure said. Failure. The hearts of the Flooding Lake City Lord and company shook as the anger and aura of the true spirit realm in the air rose once more. With Lu Yuan's speed, how can he not catch up to Zhao Feng in a short amount of time? The expression of the true mystic rank elder changed slightly. According to the news, Lu Yuan has caught up to Zhao Feng and even fought for a short amount of time. However, the figure reported. Knowing the details, everyone present was filled with shock. How is this possible, unless there's someone at the true spirit realm? Everyone shook their heads in disbelief. Right at this moment, a voice sounded, Lu Yuan has failed the City Lord's task and has come to apologize. A figure that looked a little down and out flew over. Lu Yuan. Everyone was shocked and asked what had happened. Lu Yuan's face was filled with guilt and bitterness as he reported what had happened. Knowing that Zhao Feng had started to scheme against Lu Yuan's spiritual pets a few days ago, everyone felt a chill run down their spine. This youth's intelligence was terrifying. After listening to the details of the battle and the game, everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Zhao Feng's every step used his advantage to the maximum. Looks like we've underestimated this brat's eye bloodline. Even normal true human rank experts can't completely block his mental energy eye technique. The true human rank elder had a solemn expression. Zhao Feng. This Zhao Feng managed to escape under the eyes of countless experts of the Flooding Lake City. The Flooding Lake City Lord's anger had reached the limit. The aura of the peak true mystic rank filled the heavens and earth, causing the nearby heaven-earth yuan qi to boil. A large dark cloud of fire seemed to form above the City Lord's palace. Everyone's heart was pressured and they couldn't breathe. Even those at the true spirit realm felt their hearts jump. Only the true mystic rank elder with the highest cultivation dared to calm them down. 9 heavens, don't let anger control your emotions. You're the most talented genius of the Flooding Lake Lu family. In less than 100 years, you've reached the peak of the true human rank and your mystic fire nirvana scripture has reached the peak 8th level. As long as you take half a step further, your name will spread across the world and push the Flooding Lake Lu family towards glory. Yes, 6th uncle. The anger in the Flooding Lake City Lord's heart calmed down. However, right at this moment, reporting to the City Lord, young lady has mysteriously disappeared. We've searched the entire City Lord's palace but there's no sign of her. This news made everyone's heart shake once more and they cursed in their hearts. All of the Flooding Lake City's attention was on the City Lord's son-in-law and they didn't expect Lu Qinxin to suddenly disappear. According to witnesses, the direction that young lady left in was the same direction as Zhao Feng. No need to ask. Lu Qinxin had most likely gone to chase after her fiancé, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, Zhao Feng. You've ruined the reputation of the Flooding Lake Lu family. The Flooding Lake City Lord's anger that had just calmed down exploded once more and reached a critical point. In that instant, the heaven-earth yuan qi seemed to boil. The clouds were dyed red and the entire City Lord's palace seemed to sink into magma. The nearby true human rank experts such as Lu Yuan and company couldn't even stand straight. Boom! The air seemed to shake as if it was dyed in a scarlet red light. The enraged Flooding Lake City Lord's bloodline and power of true spirit were almost on fire as his eyes turned silver red. His silver red eyes glowed with a scarlet flame. The scarlet light that filled the world suddenly blossomed with a magnificent multicolored light. The true spirit realm within the Flooding Lake City Lord's body boiled and broke through a threshold. The hearts of those at the true spirit realm shook and they had the urge to kneel down. At this moment in time, the flooding lake city lord seemed to stand in the clouds and look down coldly. Great! The true lord rank. My flooding lake Lu family finally has a true lord rank expert. The elder at the true mystic rank couldn't help but have tears in his eyes as he felt the flooding lake city lord's power and his heart trembled. Congratulations city lord for breaking through to the true lord rank. The true lord rank is the strongest. From today onwards, the flooding lake Lu family will become the strongest family of the Canopy Great Country. The one emperor, 3 sects, and 4 families will have to be wary of us. The experts within the city lord's palace were filled with excitement. The instant the true lord rank was born, all those at the true spirit realm within several thousand miles felt it. True lord rank. Another true lord rank has appeared in the Canopy Great Country. Every true lord rank could change the situation of the great country. 3,000 miles away. A palanquin with blood tattoos of dragons and swords crossed floated in the air and was carried by 4 true human rank bearers. A new true lord rank. The fortune of the Lu family is too big. The blood-haired Tiamat sighed faintly and closed his eyes. Chapter 278. In a desolate mountain forest, on a precipitous land. Shua! Zhao Feng's figure was like a ghost as he appeared from a green area. This aura, Zhao Feng's expression became solemn as his god's spiritual eye felt a change in the heaven-earth yuan qi. The flooding lake city lord. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. At this moment, he was at least 1,000 miles away from the flooding lake city, but he could still sense an aura from the city lord. This aura was extremely compatible with the fire element in the heaven-earth yuan qi. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he analyzed and came to a terrifying conclusion. It was obvious that the flooding lake city lord had broken through to the true lord rank, or he had the strength of a true lord rank but was hiding his cultivation. This result was terrible for Zhao Feng. Being in the Canopy Great Country, Zhao Feng obviously knew the influence and power of a true lord rank expert. The 8 strongest forces in the Great Country all had at least one true lord rank, or else no matter how many cultivators at the Ascended Realm or True Spirit Realm they had, it wouldn't be enough. According to the ranking system of ancient clans, a half-star force needed to have at least a true lord rank. Zhao Feng wasn't sure if the flooding lake Lu family could be compared to a half-star force, but the forces of the 13 clans definitely didn't have the right. All in all, the flooding lake city lord's true lord rank influence was extremely detrimental to Zhao Feng's escape and his sect's mission. This flooding lake city lord is very calculative. With his true lord rank status, he might put me on the wanted list of the entire Canopy Great Country. Although the Canopy Great Country is huge and the forces are complicated, his power can at least cover the flooding lake area. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. With the current situation, he needed to leave the flooding lake area as soon as possible. Shua! Zhao Feng used the Yin Shadow Cloak to head towards the Canopy Great Country capital. The Canopy Great Country capital was the capital of a great country and was one of the most prosperous cities in the northern continent. Zhao Feng had stayed in the flooding lake city for half a year and naturally had a map of the Canopy Great Country in his mind. He would occasionally open his god's spiritual eye to observe the terrain and compare it with the map in his mind, forming a real map. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. Zhao Feng tried not to use the azure sharp swallow as it was too eye-catching in the air. Canopy Great Country couldn't be compared to the 13 countries. Martial arts was prevalent here and there were many sects and families. Flying beasts could be seen in the air. On this day, Zhao Feng landed in front of a small pond. What's going on? My eyes. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye felt slightly tired. Every time he used his left eye, the tiredness he felt would become more obvious. Strangely, Zhao Feng found that his source of psychic energy was clearly abundant. A few days ago, when he faced off against Lu Yuan, his god's spiritual eye had been opened to the limit and his mental energy had been rapidly consumed. It wasn't this obvious. The water in the pond was very calm, like the surface of a mirror. Zhao Feng stood in front of the pond with a head of green jade-like hair, giving off a mysterious and wicked aura. Soon, Zhao Feng found that about 1/10 of his green hair had turned faint blue. The color of his hair had been changing over the past few days. In addition, a cold, faint blue aura would occasionally appear in his green left eye. Every time this aura appeared, the power of Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye would rise. That day when he faced off against Lu Yuan, it was because of this that he was able to barely use his mental energy. However, he still wasn't able to win against someone at the true spirit realm and could only run away. But now, although Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye wasn't used too much, it still felt tired. Meow meow. The little thieving cat suddenly appeared on his shoulder and 2 bronze coins appeared in its hands, which it gestured towards Zhao Feng. Of the 2 bronze coins, one was from the Floating Crest Palace and the other from Lu Qinxin. The one from the Floating Crest Palace was newer and the one from Lu Qinxin was slightly rusty. You mean, who caught up with us? Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. The little thieving cat nodded its head and flipped the 2 bronze coins in its hands in the air with a ding. How was it? Zhao Feng cursed in his heart. His escape route was extremely well hidden, how could he still be caught? The little thieving cat suddenly sensed something and one of the bronze coins gave a ding. It rolled and hid in the spiritual pet bag. This aura was very familiar to Zhao Feng. Not good. Zhao Feng circulated the Yin shadow cloak and hid next to the pond. A few breaths later, a beautiful figure wearing a snow-white veil descended like a white feather. She was elegant and tranquil, like a fairy in a painting. The newcomer was Lu Qinxin. Who knew if it was a coincidence, but Lu Qinxin coincidentally landed next to Zhao Feng and looked at the pond in front of her and sighed. Her eyes were like the autumn water, even clearer than the pond and gave off a deep and peaceful aura. How did you catch up to me? Zhao Feng revealed himself. He didn't think that Lu Qinxin would land next to him so accurately. Although Zhao Feng's EQ was low, his intelligence wasn't low. Lu Qinxin's expression seemed to be filled with bitterness, but she didn't show any anger or hatred. Her eyes were as calm as the pond. Before my master passed away, he left me 2 copper coins of destiny. In his will, he said that it could determine my fate and fortune. She smiled charmingly, as if she was mocking herself. She flipped her jade-like hand, and another rusty copper coin appeared. This coin was extremely similar to the second coin that the little thieving cat had obtained. As expected. The only flaw that Zhao Feng could think of was the coin that the little thieving cat had taken. With the little thieving cat's personality, it obviously wouldn't hand over something that it had obtained. This meant that Zhao Feng had to bear the risk. If Lu Qinxin hadn't come alone, but had brought a few experts at the true spirit realm, thinking up to here, Zhao Feng broke out in cold sweat and opened his god's spiritual eye to look behind him, but didn't find any signs of pursuers. Don't worry, let the 2 of us solve our problems. Lu Qinxin's eyes stared at the handsome youth in front of her. With a single thought, they would become husband and wife. Solve? How? Zhao Feng felt a bit unnatural under her gaze. Perhaps he felt guilty and uneasy. Before we solve the problem, I want to tell you a story. Lu Qinxin smiled. At this moment, she was so beautiful that even Zhao Feng, who was usually emotionless, was slightly dazed. I'm all ears. Only now did Zhao Feng realize that he knew very little about his fiancée. Once upon a time, there was a sage who took in 3 female disciples. The wise one allowed the 3 women to each choose a legacy. Although the 3 female disciples were extremely talented, they could only comprehend one inheritance. Lu Qinxin spoke. Zhao Feng listened quietly. At this moment in time, he was abnormally calm. The first disciple was extremely intelligent and chose the Tao of Fate. The second disciple was extremely beautiful and chose the Tao of Charm. The third disciple didn't compete with the world and loved music, so she chose the Tao of Entertainment. Lu Qinxin smiled faintly as she spoke up to hear. It looks like you're the inheritor of the first disciple. Zhao Feng was interested in the story. Lu Qinxin's master was indeed not ordinary. He had told Lu Qinxin to change her name and steal her fortune. From the little thieving cat's words, it seemed that this was a scheme against him, but it wasn't completely so. The first disciple was my master, but unfortunately passed away. The third disciple was my birth mother, but she was killed by the second disciple who chose the Tao of Charm. Lu Qinxin said. Zhao Feng paused. The first and third disciples had both died, leaving only the second disciple who chose the Tao of Charm. Did this mean that the female disciple who chose the Tao of Charm was more suitable for survival? The story is over. Next, it's time to solve the problem between us. Lu Qinxin's eyes turned as she looked at Zhao Feng with a smile that wasn't a smile. Zhao Feng's hairs stood on end from her gaze. Did this Lu Qinxin also want to force him into a marriage? Don't worry, I'm not here to force you into a marriage. Lu Qinxin sighed, it's just that your act of running away has brought great shame to the Flooding Lake Lu family and my father. Zhao Feng was silent. He thought to himself, if it wasn't for your father forcing me into a marriage, would this be the result? Also, I'm a girl. My chastity and reputation have been stained because of you running away. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart shook. His plan of running away had been based on his own interests. Zhao Feng's actions were the same as a divorce letter, divorcing this pure and noble girl. Then what do you want me to do? Zhao Feng asked. At this moment in time, he felt slightly guilty and decided to make it up to her. First, go to the Flooding Lake City and ask for forgiveness from my father and the Flooding Lake Lu family. From then on, we'll have nothing to do with each other. Lu Qinxin said calmly. Then what's the second? Zhao Feng thought in his heart. If he went back and asked for forgiveness, wouldn't he be beaten into pieces by the experts of the Flooding Lake City? Who could withstand the anger of the Flooding Lake City Lord who had already reached the true spirit realm? Second, go back and get married. Lu Qinxin's face went slightly red. Zhao Feng almost fainted. Didn't he just say that he wouldn't force her to marry him? Which one will you choose? Lu Qinxin said in a low tone. I choose to continue running away. Zhao Feng's words changed. It wasn't realistic to ask him to go back and get beaten up or get married. The first one could be considered, but he had to wait until he was strong enough to be beaten up. You're a man, how can you? What about me? Zhao Feng's EQ was indeed low. So irresponsible. Lu Qinxin bit her lips. Man. I'm still underage. Zhao Feng's superior intelligence was revealed. Lu Qinxin was speechless. How about this, why don't we make a bet? Lu Qinxin's eyes spun. Speak. Zhao Feng wasn't scared. You and I will spar here. If you win, you don't have to take any responsibility. But if you lose, you have to agree to one of the two choices. Lu Qinxin said faintly. Ha ha ha, if I lose, I'll go back and get married. Zhao Feng laughed confidently. Although Lu Qinxin's strength surpassed normal half-step true spirit realm cultivators and she even had a bloodline power. However, Zhao Feng had even escaped from those at the true spirit realm, let alone a measly girl. Is that so? Lu Qinxin smiled as she placed her palms together in front of her dantian. A terrifying aura was released from her palms. Instantly, all of her half-step true spirit chi had turned into true chi of true spirit. Chi of true spirit, you sealed your cultivation. Zhao Feng's expression changed dramatically. Chapter 279. When Lu Qinxin revealed her true trump card, Zhao Feng's confidence instantly dissipated, as if he had fallen from the clouds into hell. True spirit realm. Her true cultivation has reached the true spirit realm. Adding on her bloodline power, her strength is most likely above Lu Yuan's. Zhao Feng's expression was solemn as his thoughts spun. The first time he saw Lu Qinxin, Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye had been blocked by a mysterious power. Not only was he unable to see through her veil, Lu Qinxin had even sensed it. At that time, Lu Qinxin's spiritual sense wasn't any weaker than normal true spirit realm cultivators. At that time, Zhao Feng had thought that Lu Qinxin's bloodline was special and her cultivation was close to the true spirit realm. Furthermore, once he opened his god's spiritual eye, Lu Qinxin would definitely sense it. Now that Lu Qinxin's true cultivation was revealed, everything became clear. Feng, according to the bet, you have no chance of winning. Lu Qinxin smiled. Previously, Zhao Feng had used all his skills and schemes, but he had only managed to escape from Lu Yuan's pursuit. It was already very impressive for a mere seventh sky to be able to do this. However, if Zhao Feng had to fight Lu Yuan head-on, his chances of winning were minuscule. At this moment, according to the bet, Zhao Feng had to fight Lu Qinxin head-on and not run away. Lu Qinxin was the disciple of the female who had inherited the Tao of life and had many mysteries. Adding on her bloodline, she would be even harder to deal with than Lu Yuan. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye quickly calculated his chances of winning. The final conclusion was that his chances of winning in a head-on battle was less than 30%. Of course, you can go back on the bet. Qinxin won't force you. Lu Qinxin looked quietly at Zhao Feng. If Zhao Feng went back on the bet and ran away, she would be disappointed. No matter how talented such a person was, he didn't have the right to be her husband. Zhao Feng stood still with his azure hair mixed with faint blue as his expression returned to normal. I didn't admit defeat. Zhao Feng slowly turned around and faced Lu Qinxin. At this moment, the two of them were so close that Zhao Feng could smell the beautiful woman's body fragrance. In an instant, the two of them stared at each other. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye had already opened. The reason why he still had a 30% chance of winning was because of the mutating god's spiritual eye. The abyss at the center of those deep azure eyes extended endlessly, and a faint blue aura would occasionally appear. Zhao Feng's mental energy level wasn't much weaker than those at the true spirit realm, and when the faint blue aura appeared, it was comparable to those at the true human rank. Lu Qinxin didn't suddenly make a move. Her clear eyes faced Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. Even though it was close at hand, the attack on the mental level still surpassed the physical level. Whoosh! A faint blue aura appeared in Zhao Feng's green eyes, causing one's heart to palpitate. In that instant, the power of his god's spiritual eye suddenly rose. A wisp of hidden mental energy undulated. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye seemed to have a fatal attraction. Lu Qinxin's heart trembled slightly and she almost couldn't resist it. At the critical moment, she guarded her soul tightly, her willpower tenacious. At the same time, she activated the power of her bloodline. A layer of translucent silver light immediately appeared on her voluptuous and perfect body. She looked mysterious, like a beauty under the moonlight. With the cultivation of the true spirit realm and the mysterious bloodline power, the pressure on Zhao Feng was unprecedentedly large. Cold sweat seeped out of his forehead, but he still failed. It's useless. The difference in cultivation can't be crossed. Lu Qinxin sighed. Zhao Feng shook his head with a bitter smile as his cold expression suddenly became warm. Qinxin, do you know that ever since I first saw you, my heart has been moved by you? The light in Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye was abnormally gentle. He looked deeply at the beauty in front of him. Then why did you? Lu Qinxin paused. She didn't think that Zhao Feng would suddenly confess to her. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye circulated in a weird way and a mysterious power entered through the gaps of emotions. Lu Qinxin didn't sense it as her eyes turned red and became misty. Qinxin, I know I was wrong. I've decided to marry you. Zhao Feng's affectionate gaze and words that could melt the heart slowly seeped into her senses. Slowly. Zhao Feng slowly approached Lu Qinxin and caressed her shoulder. Feng, did you know? When I found out that you ran away, I lost control of my heart and felt cold like never before. At that time, I just wanted to find you and ask for an explanation. Lu Qinxin's eyes became misty and filled with tears of joy. She fell into Zhao Feng's mental energy illusion and fell into Zhao Feng's embrace. So easy. Zhao Feng was stunned. The situation was smoother than he had imagined. Just now, he had used all his strength to activate his god's spiritual eye, but he couldn't pull Lu Qinxin's consciousness away. But now, he had used a gentle method and used a mental energy illusion to attack the flaw in her heart, and he had succeeded. At this moment, Lu Qinxin's heart had been broken by Zhao Feng and her emotions were being controlled by Zhao Feng. So the flaw in her heart was because of me. That's why I was able to achieve such an unimaginable success. Zhao Feng's expression was complicated and he didn't feel good in his heart. He once again hugged the beauty in front of him. That beautiful body fragrance, that soft and fragrant body, almost made his mind drift. You've lost. Zhao Feng's mental energy illusion suddenly stopped as one of his hands was placed on Lu Qinxin's elegant snow-white neck. Lu Qinxin seemed to wake up from a dream as she realized that she was hugging him tightly. Her face instantly turned red. Although Zhao Feng's hand was on her neck, he didn't use any force, as if he knew how to be gentle. Lu Qinxin couldn't bear the humiliation. Although she had left a trump card, this youth had slowly walked into her heart from the start of the marriage. He had successfully left a flaw in her heart when he escaped the marriage. Zhao Feng slowly put down his hand. Lu Qinxin's skin was snow-white and smooth, but at this moment, it had turned red, which dyed her face red. I've lost. Lu Qinxin calmed her emotions as a bitter smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Her clear eyes took one last deep glance at Zhao Feng, and then she turned around and slowly flew into the air. No matter what methods the other used, since she had lost the bet, Lu Qinxin wouldn't find any excuses. Zhao Feng looked at her leaving figure and suddenly felt that he had lost something. Using this method to win wasn't his original intention, but under the absolute calmness of the god's spiritual eye, it was the best shortcut. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and said solemnly, "One day, when I have nothing to worry about, I will come back and marry you." Lu Qinxin's body stiffened in the air, but she didn't turn her head. "I don't want your pity. But the prerequisite is that you haven't married yet." After saying this, Zhao Feng sat on the azure sharp swallow and left. The result of this bet had already lost its meaning. Although Zhao Feng had successfully escaped the marriage, he had left such a promise. For someone as emotionless as him, it was a miracle that he could say such words. "Master, is he the one for me, or is he my nemesis?" Lu Qinxin's eyes were cold. After a long time, she understood that Zhao Feng was an idiot when it came to relationships and his EQ was extremely low. Therefore, the promise he left behind was extremely rare and moved Lu Qinxin. Even after winning, Zhao Feng still made such a promise. If he was even more heartless or shameless, Lu Qinxin could only leave according to the bet. Fate in the unseen world was really hard to predict. Once again, there was a turn of events. The person he's looking for should be Empress Qin. I hope that the next time we meet, we won't be enemies. Lu Qinxin's eyes regained their calmness. When Zhao Feng first took out the half-jade comb, Lu Qinxin had already confirmed which branch it came from. Sitting on the azure sharp swallow, Zhao Feng's speed became faster and faster as he soared into the sky. I need to leave the flooding lake area as soon as possible. Zhao Feng felt a sense of urgency. Lu Qinxin wouldn't continue to chase him, but that didn't mean the city lord would. Zhao Feng's actions of escaping the marriage had damaged the flooding lake Lu family's dignity and was a great humiliation to the city lord. Using this opportunity, the city lord had reached the true lord rank. Meow meow. The little thieving cat poked its head out from his shoulder and twirled the 2 bronze coins in its hand in the air. Zhao Feng thought. In Lu Qinxin's story, the sage had 3 female disciples. The first disciple chose the Tao of life while the second chose the Tao of charm. Lu Qinxin was the first disciple who chose the Tao of life. The little thieving cat waved its paws and gestured as if explaining something. Zhao Feng could roughly understand and understood that the first disciple who chose the Tao of Life made Lu Qinxin change her name to Qinxin to fight for fortune. The result seemed to be very successful. Zhao Feng's arrival had forced the city lord to break through to the true lord rank. After that, Zhao Feng successfully escaped and promised to take Lu Qinxin as his wife. Of course, the prerequisite was that the latter was willing to wait. Meow meow. The little fraud tossed the 2 destiny copper coins and nodded repeatedly. There was even a hint of admiration in his eyes. If I'm not wrong, the one who chose the Tao of Charm is most likely Empress Qin. Many questions in Zhao Feng's heart were answered. The only mystery now was what was the relationship between Empress Qin and First Elder. In the following days, Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and confirmed his route before leaving the flooding lake area. Due to using the god's spiritual eye frequently, Zhao Feng's left eye felt more and more tired. More strands of light blue hair appeared in his head of green hair. The frequency of the faint blue aura appearing in Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye became more and more frequent. All these changes caused Zhao Feng's left eye to feel more and more tired. I can't hold on much longer. Zhao Feng gritted his teeth. Eventually, he felt tired and wanted to sleep at any moment. However, Zhao Feng knew that he couldn't sleep until he was far from the flooding lake area. His intuition told him that his slumber this time might not be short. After another 2 days, a surging river appeared in front of him. At this point in time, Zhao Feng had left the flooding lake area and entered a new area. Deep exhaustion covered Zhao Feng's consciousness. He didn't realize that half of his hair had already turned into a dreamy light blue. Even his eyes flickered with a faint blue luster, like dreamy blue crystals. I've reached my limit. Zhao Feng struggled and closed his eyes. Plop! His body turned into an arc and plunged into the surging river, drowned by the waves. Chapter 280. In extreme exhaustion, Zhao Feng's consciousness started to blur and he fell into a deep sleep. After falling into the river, his body instinctively went into a state of rest. In the surging river, Zhao Feng was like a piece of dead wood that was blown by the wind and hit by the waves. Meow meow. The little thieving cat jumped out of the spiritual pet bag and sat on its owner's body as its black eyes spun. The little thieving cat's ability to enter and exit the spiritual pet bag and interspatial bracelet was still an unsolved mystery. The little thieving cat inspected Zhao Feng and then reached out with its paw and patted its owner's temple. However, Zhao Feng didn't react at all. But the strange thing was, the true power in his body, especially the blood meridian's power, seemed to have an instinct, and in some urgent situations, it would automatically protect his body. At a certain moment, the aura of a beast appeared in the river and locked onto Zhao Feng and tried to approach. Arcs of azure lightning flowed through Zhao Feng's body and a layer of cold blue appeared in his bloodline aura. This bloodline aura froze one's heart and made the beast that was approaching shiver. The little thieving cat thought for a while and took out 2 copper coins of destiny and threw them into the air, causing a ding-ding sound. The little thieving cat then yawned helplessly and returned back into Zhao Feng's spiritual pet bag. Day after day passed. Zhao Feng's body entered a dormant state. His body temperature was low but his life force was still present. The little thieving cat would occasionally come out and check on its owner's situation or fish in the river. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Zhao Feng went with the flow and with the little thieving cat's help, the distance between him and the flooding lake was quickly widened. Meow meow. The little thieving cat stroked its whiskers and nodded its head in the direction of the flooding lake city. It was almost certain that Zhao Feng was out of danger. The flooding lake Lu family was originally one of the 3 strongest forces in the flooding lake area, and after the city lord, Lu Jiutian, reached the true lord rank, they became the ruler. After Zhao Feng escaped from the wedding, City Lord Lu Jiutian issued an order to arrest Zhao Feng in the Honghu area. However, the Canopy Great Country's territory was too big and the factions were complicated. Even with the flooding lake City Lord's current status, he could only order around the flooding lake. Outside of the flooding lake, there were many other factions. Some powerful sects and factions, along with the one emperor, 3 sects, for clans, there was also some relationship between them. Even within the Liu family, there was a lot of competition and infighting. Anyway, in today's big country, no one could truly command the world. Even the royal family felt powerless. Therefore, the further away Zhao Feng was from Hong Lake, the safer he would be. The little thieving cat had signed a blood contract with Zhao Feng, and although it seemed to be carefree most of the time, it wouldn't just stand by and do nothing at the critical moment. After a month of sleep, Zhao Feng's hair had turned blue and his left eye had become a dreamy blue. From afar, he looked like a prince from a dream. However, in this period of time, Zhao Feng would occasionally murmur in his sleep. Under certain circumstances, his left eye would open for a short period of time. It was like a light blue crystal, clear and flawless, like a perfect work of art. The ancient shatters, the ancient gods fall, turning into billions of dust. The empty and desolate sigh echoed in the pitch-black space. This sigh seemed to pass through time and space. In the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss had turned into a freezing pond half a foot wide. The water in the blue-cold pond was basically in a frozen state, and it was extremely cold. Zhao Feng's expression became colder and more emotionless. Every time he opened his left eye, an invisible coldness would freeze everything within 100 zhang radius. The nearby beasts, fishes, prawns, and beasts would shiver in fear. Even a normal true spirit realm cultivator would be moved by this cold aura. The little thieving cat's eyes were filled with expectation and respect. Sometimes, it would sit on Zhao Feng's body and cultivate. That's right, the little thieving cat was always cultivating, and the amount of spiritual pills, primal crystal stones and resources it ate could be said to be piled up like a mountain. Time passed by. Apart from the occasional opening of his eyes, Zhao Feng was still in a deep sleep state. While he was asleep, not only did his cultivation not decrease, it actually increased. On this day, Zhao Feng, who was like a dead tree, walked through the waves and entered a beautiful bay. This bay was filled with heaven-earth yuan qi, and the path was complicated. At the beginning, there would occasionally be a few figures here. Gradually, the sound of flying came from the sky. Zhao Feng's body moved up and down, and the various states of his body started to recover. His face became red and his breathing and heartbeat became more obvious. In his mind, Zhao Feng was having a weird dream. In the dream, he saw a battlefield and scenes that surpassed his imagination appeared in front of him. In the scene, giant figures fought until the heavens and earth cracked and the sun and moon lost their light. Zhao Feng even felt the heaven and earth tremble, and some loud noises could pierce through his soul. In some scenes, the sky seemed to be torn apart and the earth shook. Any shockwave from the battle could flatten the flooding lake city. This is a legend. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. Although the scenes were blurry, the slightest aura caused his soul to tremble. Sometimes, even his thoughts were restricted. Although the scenes weren't clear, Zhao Feng could tell that it was an ancient era where legends fought. In the scenes, there would occasionally be some clear details. For example, the battle skills of an ancient god or the experience of an ancient god. In the dream, Zhao Feng was mostly blurry, but he would occasionally comprehend something. Sometimes, after comprehending for a while, Zhao Feng would feel very tired and his consciousness would become blurry. Look, there seems to be a person in the water. Amidst the waves, an azure ship sailed over. On the green ship, a 12-year-old girl with a ponytail pointed forward with bright eyes. The figures on the ship looked over. This person is floating on the water and doesn't seem to be dead. There seems to be a cat. The people on the ship exclaimed. The ponytail girl ordered, "Come, fish him up." Hee, that cat looks so cute. Miss Xiaoyu, this person's background is unknown. He might be a pirate. The people on the ship were slightly hesitant. Meow meow. The little thieving cat stood on Zhao Feng's body and waved its paw in disdain. Everyone paused and could roughly understand that the cat was defending its owner. What a smart cat. Its owner definitely isn't a bad person. The ponytail girl had a joyful expression as she ordered a few sailors to fish Xiao Feng up. Xiao Feng's dreamy blue hair made the girl sigh, "What beautiful hair." Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. There was a curious woman who reached out her hand to touch and identify the hair. She confirmed that the texture of the hair was crystal clear and definitely not dyed. After being moved onto the ship, the blue-haired youth was still sleeping. The little thieving cat jumped up and down on the ship, making the ponytail girl happy. "Little cat, hello. I'm called by Xiaoyu from the Transverse Water Bays by family." The ponytail girl introduced herself. "Meow meow." The little thieving cat patted its chest as if it was introducing itself, causing everyone to be dazed. At this point in time, the atmosphere on the ship became lively due to the little thieving cat's appearance. "Xiaoyu, what's going on with this cat and this youth?" An old voice sounded from a room on the ship. "Greetings, Lord Bai." The people on the ship respectfully bowed. In the Transverse Water Bay, the Bai family was one of the top forces. Apparently, the Transverse Water Bays Bai family could be traced back to the main branch of the Bai family and could barely be considered a branch of the Bai family. However, due to the complicated geography of the Transverse Water Bay, it was half isolated from the outside world. This Bai family had lost contact with the Bai family long ago. But no matter what, the Bai family's prestige was undeniable. Lord Bai had a head of white hair and held a dragon head cane. His eyes twinkled as he inspected the little thieving cat and then the sleeping youth on the deck. After understanding the situation, Lord Bai ordered, "Contact the alchemist to wake this youth up and then interrogate him about his origins." There was an alchemist on the ship who took Xiao Feng's pulse and his eyebrows furrowed after observing for a long time. The alchemist used several methods, but Xiao Feng was like a piece of dead wood with no reaction. Lord Bai then personally took Xiao Feng's pulse. The result was the same. The blue-haired youth was in a deep sleep and couldn't feel anything. The people on the ship even suspected that this youth was in a vegetative state. Let's move back first. Recently, the severed blood pirates have been acting strangely in the Transverse Water Bay. This person needs to be guarded, Lord Bai said in a low tone. With his experience, it wasn't hard for him to see that Xiao Feng had a bloodline and had reached the seventh sky at such a young age. The seventh sky of the Ascended Realm was an extraordinary cultivation in the Transverse Water Bay and was definitely an expert. Soon after, the ship entered a bustling stronghold that was much bigger than Xiao Feng's hometown, Sun Feather City. This was the center of the Transverse Water Bay, the Transverse Water Stronghold. The fishermen, merchants, and small families all used this stronghold as the center. When entering the stronghold, many people would be inspected and almost no outsiders would enter. This was because recently, the famous savage blood pirates frequently appeared at the bay, causing many innocent people to lose their lives. In the Transverse Water Stronghold, the Bai family was the strongest and had the absolute right to speak. The reason why Xiao Feng wasn't inspected was because he was carried in by the Bai family. After entering the Bai family, Xiao Feng was placed in a wooden hut and there were 8 experts at the 6th and 7th sky of the Ascended Realm guarding the door. For the next 2 days, the Bai family found 2 alchemists to check on Xiao Feng, but they didn't find anything. However, Xiao Feng's complexion, breathing, and heartbeat were all recovering and were close to normal. The little thieving cat stood by his side and occasionally yawned. On this night. Little thieving cat, how long have I been sleeping for? A weak voice sounded in the air. The little thieving cat jumped up in fright and shuddered. The blue-haired youth opened his eyes. His left eye was like an ice-blue gem and a coldness seemed to be able to freeze one's heart. Chapter 281. When Xiao Feng woke up and opened his eyes, the 8 Bai family experts guarding the wooden hut felt an inexplicable coldness penetrate into their souls. In that instant, it was as if their thoughts had been frozen and they all shuddered. Xiao Feng wanted to get up but found that his body was extremely weak. After all, Xiao Feng hadn't eaten in the past month and was in a state similar to hibernation. My mental energy level has surpassed my physical cultivation. It's comparable to the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng touched the mental energy level and jumped up in fright. In the dimension of his left eye, a small freezing pond a foot wide was covered in ice and gave off a faint blue light. Zhao Feng's current source of mental energy was abnormally strong, and it contained a terrifying element of ice. This coldness could even seep into the soul dimension. From then on, Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye had successfully evolved once again. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws around, and with a bit of gesticulation, Zhao Feng soon understood that he had slept for a month and 12 days. That person's awake. The Bai family experts surrounded the wooden hut as if they were facing a great enemy. Zhao Feng laid on the ground and retracted the aura of his god spiritual eye as he put on the new eye patch that Master Taigon had given him. The faint silver eye patch was as thin as a blade, sharp yet elegant. The instant the eye patch was put on, the aura of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline was hidden to the maximum. Bam! At this moment, the door to the wooden hut was kicked open. Two experts of the 7th layer of the Bai family blocked the entrance, their eyes cold and sharp. Zhao Feng had just finished putting on the eye patch, and the appearance of a one-eyed man caused the expressions of the others to change as their hostility increased. This brat is indeed a pirate. There are more than 10 one-eyed bandits in the Transverse Water Bay area, and none of them are easy to deal with. Most of them are leaders. The Bai family experts were on guard as if they were facing a great enemy. Pirates? This scene caused Zhao Feng to be stunned. When did he become a pirate? Zhao Feng had just woken up and had no idea where he was. The area around Transverse Water Bay was filled with pirates. Among them, there were quite a number of bandits who wore eye patches. There were even some pirates who, in order to increase their killing intent, would wear an eye patch even if they were not one-eyed. Sigh. Zhao Feng lay on the ground, powerless. Over the past month or so, although his cultivation had been progressing steadily, his body hadn't eaten or moved. It was weak and limp. If he really had to fight with these people now, it would really be a bit difficult. Let's go, we're hungry, let's find something to eat. Zhao Feng crawled up from the ground with some difficulty. Ignoring the Bai family experts, he walked straight out. It was strange. The 7 or 8 experts of the Bai family circled around the wooden hut as if they didn't see Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat. After the evolution of the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng's mental illusion technique was activated without any warning. The 8 experts of the Bai family were trapped in a maze of illusions. A moment later, in the Bai family's dining hall. Meow meow. The little thieving cat grabbed a few large fried fish and began to wolf them down. Zhao Feng's expression was cold as he slowly ate, his eyes occasionally inspecting the surroundings. At the start, he would use a mental illusion technique to disguise himself, but as more and more people came, he didn't care and started to eat like a tornado. Someone come quickly. Pirates dare sneak into the dining hall to steal food. The Bai family's dining hall was in chaos. A man and a cat sat in the cafeteria, minding their own business and eating. This was especially so for the little thieving cat. It even picked up a jug of wine and drank until its eyes were hazy. More and more people came to watch. It wasn't long before the 7 or 8 experts of the Bai family rushed over. However, whenever they neared Zhao Feng, they would circle around as if they had lost contact with the outside world. Anyone that had hostile intentions would be thrown into an illusion by Zhao Feng's mental illusion technique. More and more people gathered in the Bai family's dining hall. This matter quickly alerted the head of the Bai family. Which thief dares to cause trouble in my Bai family? An invisible pressure swept over like a storm, causing the breathing of the people near the dining hall to stop. The newcomer was a purple-clothed middle-aged man whose chi of half-step true spirit realm formed a powerful aura that caused the entire dining hall to become deathly silent. Zhao Feng faintly glanced at him. Looks like it's a small family, around the same level as the overlooking Mist Lu family. Now that his god's spiritual eye had reached a new level, he wouldn't need to fear even those at the true spirit realm. Everyone please calm your anger. This one happened to pass by and was saved by you. This one is grateful for your hospitality. Zhao Feng had just finished eating and stood up to say. No matter what was said, the Bai family had fished him out of the water and given him a good meal. If he were to just leave like that, he would feel bad. You're finally awake. A girl with a ponytail smiled as she walked out from the crowd and started to play with the little thieving cat. The head of the Bai family was still suspicious and wary. This youth was extremely weird. The Bai family experts that tried to attack him all spun around on the spot. Even the head of the Bai family couldn't see through this youth. Go and summon Master Bai. The head of the Bai family ordered. The most important thing was to calm this youth down. Recently, the savage blood pirates have been around the water stockade, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. They've harmed many innocent people. These people have mistaken little brother for a pirate, please forgive them. The purple-clothed middle-aged man smiled as he politely greeted Zhao Feng. After a discussion, Zhao Feng had a basic understanding of the transverse water bay. The transverse water bay had two main forces. One was the pirates and the other was the families, merchants and fishermen that formed the transverse water stronghold. Simply put, it was black and white. The transverse water stronghold is the center of the bay and the pirates usually don't dare to come close. At most, they would rob some merchants and passers-by. But recently, the famous severed blood pirates have somehow snuck into the bay. I don't know what their motive is. The head of the Bai family said as he observed Zhao Feng's expression. Zhao Feng's expression was cold and emotionless. After the god's spiritual eye had evolved, Zhao Feng's expression became colder and colder. But this didn't mean that Zhao Feng wouldn't think. The transverse water stronghold is after all the center of the bay and is heavily guarded. It's easy to defend and hard to attack. No matter how strong the severed blood pirates are, they're just a bunch of bandits with limited numbers. Zhao Feng analyzed. He came to a conclusion that the severed blood pirates definitely didn't want to attack the transverse water stronghold. They probably had another goal. The head of the Bai family silently stalled Zhao Feng and waited for Master Bai to arrive. Master Bai was extremely respected in the transverse water bay area and had a high status in the Bai family. It was said that this Master Bai was close to 200 years old. Without a doubt, only those at the true spirit realm would have such a long lifespan. However, after the head of the Bai family waited for half the time it took to make tea, there was no news at all. The little thieving cat's eyes twinkled and with a wave of its paw, the two bronze coins flipped in the air with a ding-ding. Bad omen? Zhao Feng looked inquiringly at the little thieving cat. The little thieving cat nodded its head, but this bad omen wasn't referring to Zhao Feng, but Master Bai. Reporting to the head of the Bai family. Master Bai disappeared this morning. Someone said that he was seen leaving the Bai family last night. A servant came to report. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. The little thieving cat did have some skill and could accurately predict bad omens. Reporting to the head of the Bai family, the situation isn't good. The severed blood pirates have led 18 groups of pirates to block the 3 waterways near the bay. A shocking piece of news spread throughout the stronghold. The severed blood pirates were famed for their bloodthirstiness and their leader, the severed blood bald eagle, was said to have reached the true spirit realm. Under normal situations, the transverse water stronghold wouldn't be afraid of being surrounded by pirates and would have the absolute advantage. Pass down my order. Lock down the stronghold. No one is allowed to move. The head of the family took a deep breath and said solemnly. At this critical moment, Master Bai, who had the highest cultivation in the transverse water stronghold, had mysteriously disappeared. The Bai family and the other forces didn't dare to move. Zhao Feng couldn't help but be surprised. Were the pirates really going to attack the cleansing water stronghold? Taking 10,000 steps back, even if these pirates could really massacre the transverse water stronghold, their losses would definitely be extremely tragic. How many of them would survive in the end? Although there aren't any experts at the true spirit realm, the stronghold has many experts and their numbers are several times that of the pirates. It's easy to defend and hard to attack. The head of the family calmly walked towards the entrance of the stronghold and gave out orders. Because the stronghold was locked down, Zhao Feng could only stay in the stronghold for now. Within the stronghold, many of the locals were panicking. It was rare to see a situation like this where pirates gathered together and targeted the stronghold. Compared to them, Zhao Feng was extremely relaxed. After leaving this secluded bay, I'll be able to reach the capital after passing through 3 lakes. It looks like I've traveled a long distance on the river. Zhao Feng started to study the map. From the current situation, the destination of his letter wasn't too far away. As long as the pirates left, Zhao Feng would be able to head towards the capital. However, things weren't as smooth as Zhao Feng had imagined. The pirates that had gathered around the stronghold had no intentions of leaving. The air and waterways were all under the control of the pirates. The pirates don't attack the stronghold. What's their goal in doing this? Zhao Feng didn't understand. Just when Zhao Feng couldn't resist anymore and was about to leave the stronghold, another piece of news came. Master Bai is back. A wave of exclamations came from the entrance of the stronghold. Zhao Feng focused his eyes and saw a white-haired old man holding a dragon-head walking stick float into the stronghold. Master Bai's face was pale white and one of his legs was missing, covered in blood. He looked to be in a terrible state. Master Bai. The head of the Bai family, Bai Qiaoyu and company exclaimed. Last night, after my investigation, the severed blood pirate's goal wasn't the stronghold, but the legendary Water Moon treasure trove. Master Bai's voice was hoarse as he quickly sat down to heal. Water Moon treasure trove. How is this possible? The Water Moon treasure trove has always been a legend in the bay. Even if the Water Moon treasure trove really exists, even us locals don't know about it. How would the severed blood pirates know about its location? The high level of the stronghold paled. Hearing this, Zhao Feng couldn't help but understand. The mystery in his heart was solved. No matter how arrogant the pirates were, they wouldn't attack a heavily guarded city. Their true goal was the Water Moon treasure trove. However, the location of the trove was near the bay. Opening the Water Moon treasure trove would cause a commotion and it was impossible not to attract the attention of the locals. Therefore, the severed blood pirates sealed the waterways so that the stronghold wouldn't act rashly. This was the only way. Only then could the pirates achieve their goal of monopolizing the treasure. Chapter 282. Master Bai, what should we do? Do we just let the severed blood pirates take the Water Moon treasury? The transverse water bay is our territory. How can we just give the treasure to those pirates? But Master Bai is heavily injured. The upper echelon of the stronghold started to discuss. Most of them were greedy for the Water Moon treasury and weren't willing to let the pirates take it. After all, the Water Moon treasury was in their territory. How could they just let the pirates take it away? Water Moon treasury? What's the legend behind it? Zhao Feng couldn't help but be curious. These locals had all heard of the legend of the Water Moon treasury. Only Zhao Feng didn't know anything. However, from how Master Bai had been injured, it seemed that the Water Moon treasury was extremely attractive to those at the true spirit realm. Master Bai's eyes twinkled as he said in a low tone, the severed blood bald eagle, the leader of the severed blood pirates, was extremely cunning and had set up a trap to lure me in. I ended up being ambushed, but he was also heavily injured by my counterattack. Hearing this, everyone became even more enraged and suggested killing their way over to take the treasure. Although Master Bai had been ambushed by the severed blood bald eagle and lost a leg, the latter was also heavily injured. Overall, Master Bai was at a greater disadvantage. Luckily, the transverse water stronghold still had many elites. Immediately, Master Bai sat cross-legged to recover while the head of the Bai family started to gather the upper echelon and experts. After discussion, the stronghold decided to send a portion of their elites to fight for the treasure. Of course, there were still some people left to guard the stronghold. In half the time it took to make tea, the Transverse Water Stronghold had gathered a strong group of 4 experts at Half-Step True Spirit Realm, 17 at 7th Sky, and dozens of experts from the 6th and 7th Sky. It was obvious that the Transverse Water Stronghold was going to take the path of elites. On one hand, the stronghold needed to be guarded, but on the other hand, it was selfish. The more people that went, the less benefits there would be in dividing the treasures. Master Bai, what should we do with this unknown youth? The upper echelon of the Bai family stared at the blue-haired youth not far away with enmity. The blue-haired youth was wearing an eye patch and had a cold and indifferent expression. He didn't look like a good person either. Master Bai, in this time of crisis, I suggest that we kill 1,000 innocents instead of letting a single fish escape the net. A cold light flashed in the eyes of one of the 7th Heaven experts. This suggestion was immediately accepted by some people. Some of them even believed that Zhao Feng was a spy among the pirates. Zhao Feng was stunned, and he couldn't help but rub his chin. Meow, meow. The little thieving cat jumped onto Zhao Feng's shoulder, its face full of disdain as it brandished its claws. Facing the covetous gazes of the Transverse Water Stronghold's experts, the man and the cat were very calm. Humph. He's the person I rescued to the shore with my own hands, and there's also this cute and clever kitten. How could they be pirates? Only Bai Xiaoyu stood out to protect Zhao Feng. Master Bai's gaze swept across the man and cat, and his expression changed a few times. When Zhao Feng had been fished up, Master Bai had personally inspected him, and it wasn't hard to find the bloodline inheritance in this youth. In the Canopy Great Country, bloodline inheritance represented a noble bloodline. Wouldn't such a person be welcomed anywhere? Was there a need to become a pirate at such a young age? Furthermore, under the hostile gazes of the crowd, the calm expressions of the man and cat made Master Bai secretly surprised. This was especially so for Zhao Feng. He couldn't see through him. He was 80% sure that this youth had nothing to do with the pirates. But nothing was absolute. If he left this mysterious youth in the stronghold, he would be an uncontrollable factor. How about this, little friend, are you interested in coming with us to fight for the treasure? Master Bai suggested with a warm smile. Zhao Feng couldn't help but pause, and his thoughts turned. This Master Bai was indeed smart. Since he didn't trust Zhao Feng, it was better to bring him along to fight for the treasure. If Zhao Feng had any ulterior motives, they could easily kill him with their group. If Zhao Feng was innocent, with his cultivation and eye bloodline, he could become a powerful ally. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded his head in agreement. He still didn't understand the water moon treasure that everyone was talking about, so he asked. This brat really doesn't know about the water moon treasury? The elites of the stronghold were slightly shocked. If Zhao Feng really didn't know about the water moon treasury, then it meant that he wasn't from this area and had nothing to do with the pirates. The origin of the water moon treasure trove is directly related to the famous flower-plucking flying bandit from 100 years ago, the water moon pirate, the head of the Bai family started to explain. 100 years ago, there was a famous water moon pirate in the Canopy Great Country. The water moon pirate ran amok in the Canopy Great Country and committed countless crimes. He stole many treasures and tainted many women. Although the water moon pirate's cultivation hadn't reached the peak of the Great Country, he had a peerless speed that allowed him to come and go without a trace. Several true lord ranks had chased after him, but he had successfully escaped. Zhao Feng only heard half of it before he understood. This water moon pirate had peerless speed, and not only did he taint many beauties, he also took countless treasures. After he died, he sealed his treasures in a secret place. This was the origin of the water moon treasury. However, Zhao Feng was slightly curious. If the water moon pirate's speed could be said to be unparalleled, how did he die? The next words of the head of the Bai family solved the mystery. The water moon pirate cultivated the mystic flower treasured Bible, which is close to the high-tier spiritual grade and is a peerless technique of the wicked path. Cultivating this technique can absorb the yin energy of women and harm others for one's own benefit. The Water Moon Pirate relied on this technique to reach the true mystic rank in just a few decades and reach the transcendent rank. However, the higher the cultivation of this technique, the higher the requirement for the target's cultivation. Until one day, he set his target on the beauty of the great country, Empress Qin. Empress Qin. Zhao Feng's breathing tightened. He didn't think that the Water Moon Pirate's death would be related to his target. Empress Qin was known as the #1 beauty of the canopy great country and had reached the true spirit realm. She became the target of the Water Moon Pirate. The Water Moon Pirate was extremely arrogant and entered the Imperial's and Empress Qin's palace without anyone knowing. However, the Water Moon Pirate failed this time. In the end, he burned his chi of true spirit and risked his life to escape to a faraway place. He buried all his knowledge and treasures in a hidden place. Everyone could not help but sigh when they heard this. The Water Moon Pirate roamed the great country freely, but in the end, he was too high profile and dared to touch the Emperor's woman. Now, the Water Moon Pirate had died almost 100 years ago, and the treasures he had left behind were enough to tempt those at the true Lord rank. The wealth this pirate had accumulated was probably even more than normal true Lord ranks. We can't let the severed blood bald eagle get the Water Moon Pirate's treasures, especially the Mystic Flower Treasured Bible. Especially an evil secret technique like the Mystic Flower Treasured Book. If it's spread, it'll be a great threat to my transverse water stronghold. Master Bai said through gritted teeth. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone agreed unanimously. That's right, we must stop the pirates from getting the treasures. The transverse water stronghold must work together to fight for the treasures and destroy the Mystic Flower Treasured Bible. Everyone was full of righteousness and soon formed a group of elites. Zhao Feng stood on the side expressionlessly as if he was a bystander. Although these people spoke righteously, which one of them wasn't greedy and wanted the Water Moon Pirate's treasures? If they really got the Mystic Flower Treasured Bible, who would give it up so easily? One had to know that spiritual grade skills were almost extinct on the continent. Even Zhao Feng's lightning inheritance was only around the high-tier spiritual grade, and the Mystic Flower Treasured Bible was a wicked technique that could raise one's cultivation in a short amount of time. Not long after, under Master Bai's lead, the elites of the Transverse Water Stronghold charged into the depths of the bay. These elite troops included Zhao Feng, who was the outside help. Zhao Feng could sense that there were at least 4 people in the crowd watching his every move. Apart from Zhao Feng, Bai Qiaoyu was also in the group. This 12 or 13-year-old girl had reached the 5th sky and her talent was extremely high. However, from Zhao Feng's point of view, with her strength and experience, she would only be a burden. Regarding this, the upper echelon of the Transverse Water Stronghold were also puzzled. The head of the Bai family was also slightly against it. However, this was decided by Master Bai, and he had chosen Bai Qiaoyu to come with him. Qiaoyu is smart and proficient in arrays and mechanisms. She had even trained under a mechanisms grandmaster before. According to what I know, the Water Moon Pirate specialized in robbing tombs and mechanisms when he was alive. It can be imagined that the place he left behind must be filled with mechanisms. Master Bai also gave an explanation. He was the only one at the true spirit realm in the group and had the highest position in the Transverse Water Stronghold. Since Master Bai had made the decision, no one had any objections. Bai Qiaoyu was innocent, and when she heard that they were going to fight for the treasure with the pirates, she felt that it was very fun and happily accepted. On the way, the sound of her playing with the little thieving cat added some liveliness to the group. Bai Qiaoyu has been training in arrays and mechanisms since she was young. Coincidentally, the Water Moon Treasury has such a layout. How could it be so coincidental? Zhao Feng was puzzled, but he didn't ask in case Master Bai became suspicious. The treasure-hunting elite troops galloped along the way and encountered several groups of pirates. Naturally, they were utterly defeated. After all, the cultivation of the group was at least at the 6th sky, and there was even someone at the true spirit realm. After traveling for more than 100 miles, a quiet green river appeared in front of them. This part of the river was slightly weird. On the surface, the water was calm, but there were countless whirlpools underneath. On the shore of the river was a pirate ship. When the elites from the Transverse Water stronghold arrived, the people on the pirate ship were already waiting. The pirates on the ship were also elites, and their leader was a one-eyed man in red robes wearing a black eye patch. He had a savage expression and was surrounded by the pirates. The formation of the pirates wasn't simple and wasn't much weaker than the elites from the Transverse Water stronghold. Old Bai, you've lost a leg and burned your chi of true spirit, injuring your foundation. Instead of going back to rest, you still dare to come and fight for the Water Moon treasury. The one-eyed man in red robes licked his lips, and a bloody and domineering aura of the true spirit realm caused the river to surge. Chapter 283. Ha ha ha. The pirates on the ship started to laugh savagely. The red-robed one-eyed man wore a black eye patch and was bald. He was the famous leader of the Severed Blood Pirates, Severed Blood Bald Eagle. Zhao Feng inspected him slightly. Although they were both at the true human rank, the aura from the Severed Blood Bald Eagle was much stronger than Master Bai's. No wonder this person was able to kill Master Bai and almost succeeded. Severed Blood Bald Eagle. The Water Moon treasury is in the territory of the Transverse Water stronghold. If you pirates don't retreat quickly, more and more reinforcements will arrive and they'll be able to catch you all. Master Bai's expression was calm and his eyes were sharp. His voice contained the aura of the true spirit realm that pierced through the hearts of the pirates. The expressions of the pirates on the ship changed. The people that Master Bai brought were all elites, and there weren't many of them. In reality, the Transverse Water stronghold still had more people. If time dragged on, the situation would become disadvantageous to the pirates. We've already sent the news outside. Severed Blood Bald Eagle. If I remember correctly, you're wanted by both the Iron Blood religion and the Imperials. The head of the Bai family laughed coldly. The people from the Bai family weren't easy to deal with either, and all retaliated. However, both sides didn't have any plans to fight for a while. Both sides are evenly matched, but the one who doesn't want to fight is Master Bai. Zhao Feng's eyes were sharp and he knew the situation of both sides. Why didn't Master Bai want to fight? Only Zhao Feng, whose god's spiritual eye had evolved, could see Master Bai's injuries. Master Bai has burned his chi of true spirit and injured his foundation. He's missing a leg and only has 60% of his peak battle power. On the other hand, although the Severed Blood Bald Eagle is also injured, his battle power is stronger than Master Bai's. His injuries aren't fatal and he has at least 80% of his battle power. Zhao Feng's evaluation of strength was very accurate. This was something that even the Severed Blood Bald Eagle and Master Bai couldn't compare to. Master Bai didn't dare to truly fight the Severed Blood Bald Eagle and thus created a situation where they were evenly matched. Furthermore, the Bai family had threatened to leak the news to the outside world. As such, the Severed Blood Vultures didn't dare to fight a protracted battle. They would either end the battle quickly or negotiate for peace. It was unrealistic to want to end the battle quickly. After all, both sides seemed to be evenly matched on the surface. But if they really fought, both sides would suffer. Perhaps there would be an Oriole lurking behind, benefiting others. The Severed Blood Bald Eagle's expression kept changing. Most importantly, he couldn't be sure if the Transverse Water stronghold had spread the news outside or if there would be any reinforcements. However, Zhao Feng knew that the Transverse Water stronghold hadn't spread the news yet. Now, the entire stronghold was sealed. The Water Moon treasury was no small matter. If it attracted even more terrifying experts from the outside, then no one would be able to obtain the treasures. After the time it takes to brew half a cup of tea. The Transverse Water stronghold and Savage Blood stronghold reached a temporary agreement. The two of them opened the treasure trove together. The Severed Blood pirates were naturally unwilling to accept this. On the other hand, the Severed Blood Bald Eagle's expression was calm. This was the territory of the Transverse Water stronghold. He had put in all sorts of effort, and in the end, he was able to open the treasure trove with them. He had already achieved his goal. Furthermore, the fight for the treasure was a battle of wits and courage. The people from the Transverse Waters stronghold had a very ridiculous feeling. They had always fought with the pirates. Who would have thought that they would be able to negotiate with them and open the treasure trove together? Of course. It wasn't that the Transverse Waters stronghold didn't have any advantages. The Severed Blood pirates had grasped the exact entrance to the treasure trove and had a plan to open it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy for Master Bai and the others to open the Water Moon treasury. As Zhao Feng thought up to here, he admired Master Bai's plans more and more. The location of the Water Moon treasury is in a secret cave a few hundred feet below the river. However, there are many whirlpools in this river and some of them can even pull large ships away. Normal Ascended Realm experts would find it hard to block them. The Severed Blood bald eagle was expressionless as he said simply. The pirate ship stopped by the shore, not daring to approach that area. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye focused on that area and saw many whirlpools. These whirlpools had a strong pulling force. Even a seventh sky expert wouldn't be able to escape unscathed if he went in. However, on the surface, this area appeared to be calm and deathly still. Next, both sides sent people to tie ropes and dive into the whirlpool area to search for the Water Moon's secret cave. The Transverse Waters stronghold sent out a sixth and seventh sky expert to dive into the river to search. The result: the first sixth sky expert went in for a while and then there was no movement. When the rope was pulled up, it was a pale white face. That person's corpse was cold as if it had been squeezed by something. Seeing this, the pirates rejoiced in the misfortune of others. The second seventh sky expert went in for a while and struggled to get to the shore. The whirlpools at the bottom of the river are filled with terrifying pressure and pulling force. The seventh sky expert's face was pale white and he had no energy left. Master Bai's expression became solemn. If the entrance to the Water Moon treasury was so easy to find, the Severed Blood pirates wouldn't have waited for the Transverse Waters stronghold. Zhao Feng didn't make a sound as he walked around the shore. His left eye could see what was happening in the river. The whirlpools seemed to have a natural force. The more one resisted, the more terrifying the force would be. In the end, you would have to resist the terrifying tearing pressure produced by hundreds and thousands of whirlpools all by yourself. Even normal experts at the true spirit realm would find it hard to resist this natural force. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. If they just sent people to search again and again, it would be hard to find anything and they would only lose their lives. Master Bai noticed Zhao Feng's actions and smiled faintly. Little brother, what do you think? Being an expert at the true spirit realm, Master Bai's words obviously attracted the attention of both sides. The pirates looked at Zhao Feng's figure and were slightly surprised. At first glance, they thought that this fellow was one of their own pirates. From what I see, we should first find out the layout of the whirlpools. There seems to be a natural array below, Zhao Feng said. As soon as he said this, the eyes of the Severed Blood bald eagle flashed. This brat does have some skill. Could it be that he accidentally found it? The Severed Blood bald eagle and the azure-robed Taoist next to him exchanged glances. The azure-robed Taoist squinted his eyes as he scanned Zhao Feng and laughed darkly. This brat's eyes are indeed sharp. It's very likely that he knows some arrays. So, the Severed Blood pirates had long since tried to break the natural array below. In reality, it was almost impossible to break the natural array. It was the same as fighting against the limitless power of heaven and earth. Therefore, the Severed Blood pirates were trying to find the weakest path through the whirlpool. Simply put, they were trying to find the weakest path through the whirlpool. With a clear plan, the people from the Transverse Water Bay that knew arrays started to discuss. Bai Qiaoyu was a genius in arrays and mechanisms. Apart from her, there were also two elders who were proficient in arrays. At this point in time, the Transverse Waters stronghold and Severed Blood pirates were both trying their best to research and would occasionally send people down to search. Zhao Feng coldly watched from the side as he circled around the shore. Both sides were discussing how to avoid the whirlpool and how to open a shortcut to find the entrance to the treasure. Sigh, what a bunch of idiots, Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. That's right. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye had already seen through the mysteries of the natural array. He had even confirmed the entrance to the treasure. If the severed blood pirates were to know, they would probably spit out blood from shock. One had to know that to find the entrance to the treasure, they had spent countless manpower and resources. The number of experts they had lost was at least 2 hands. As for Zhao Feng, he only circled around the shore twice before finding the entrance. Time passed bit by bit. Whether it was the transverse water stronghold or the severed blood pirates, they had all met a bottleneck in finding the entrance. On the transverse water stronghold side, Bai Qiaoyu's array skills had exceeded Zhao Feng's imagination. However, there was a huge deviation in the direction of their thinking. Looks like I need to remind them. Zhao Feng thought in his heart. He didn't have the thought of devouring the treasure by himself. This was because it was only a matter of time before these people solved the Water Moon treasury. The longer this dragged on, the more people would come for the treasure, which wasn't good for Zhao Feng. There's a saying that, the most dangerous place is the safest place. Zhao Feng walked next to Bai Qiaoyu and reminded her in a low voice. The 2 array experts on the side were slightly hesitant and had cold smiles on their faces. Oh. I understand. Thank you, Brother Zhao. You must be a genius. Bai Qiaoyu was full of joy. Everyone's gazes turned towards Bai Qiaoyu. Bai Qiaoyu's face was slightly red as she smiled. The Water Moon treasury should be at the most dangerous area of the whirlpool. If I'm not wrong, the eye of the natural whirlpool array should be there. Impossible. The most dangerous area of the whirlpool has terrifying power that can tear those at half-step true spirit realm apart. One of the elders objected. Hearing this, Zhao Feng almost scolded him for being an idiot. The strongest force of a natural whirlpool is in the surroundings. The eye of the whirlpool is actually very quiet. This whirlpool array is even more mysterious. The more you resist, the stronger the pulling force. On the other hand, if you don't resist and follow this force, you might be able to reach the safest place with the least amount of effort. Bai Qiaoyu quickly explained. In one sentence, she had seen through the mysteries of the whirlpool array. What she says makes sense. The eyes of the azure-robed Taoist from the pirate side lit up. They weren't stupid. It was just that their thoughts had been wrong and they had instinctively wanted to avoid the area with the strongest whirlpool. However, it was the opposite. The most dangerous place was the safest place. Furthermore, the location of the Water Moon treasury was very particular. If one wasn't willing to take the risk, how would they obtain anything? Next. The pirates and the transverse water stronghold followed this train of thought and sent experts to test it out. Ah! The scream of a pirate at the 7th sky came from the bottom of the river. A moment later, a bloody and deformed corpse was pulled out. What's going on? Didn't you say that by following this power, one would be able to reach the eye of the array? That's the safest place. The eyes of the pirates turned red as they stared unhappily at Bai Qiaoyu. Bai Qiaoyu's face was pale white and she didn't know what to do as she looked towards Zhao Feng and Master Bai. This train of thought had been given by Zhao Feng. What a bunch of idiots! Zhao Feng couldn't help but curse. His God's spiritual eye had seen clearly how the pirate had died. Although the more you resisted, the stronger the whirlpool would become. If you followed it, you would receive less force. The problem was that not resisting didn't mean you didn't use your true force to protect your body. Did you think you had the legendary undying body? You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.